Street talk time. Gemma, did you enjoy Coronation Street this week?
Yes.
Correct answer. End of street talk. It was alright. I thought it was okay this week. It feels like it's on a bit of a downward spiral after the highs of Imran dying, which sounds kind of harsh to
That
Imran.
sounds very perverse.
But I wasn't enjoying it as much this week. It was fine. It was good. But
so much drama.
We'll see what happens. There was lots of drama, and we have had a little mini break between filming the first bit of the podcast, recording the first bit of the podcast and this one. I've got my shorts on. I've got my legs out, ladies, because it's very, very hot. And then this is something big for me because I never wear shorts, do I?
No.
Like maybe one day a year if I think nobody else is looking. Why? What's wrong with my lovely legs? My lovely leggies.
Lovely knees and hairy legs.
How dare you? How dare you?
That's alright, I've got the same problem.
I think we know, Gemma, though, what the source of all this heat is today.
Summer.
It's Wendy Flaming Crozier.
Oh.
Yes?
I'm really cool. I'm so hot.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Summer's Robot. I know, amazing, wasn't it? Wendy Crozier is back. Wendy Papadopoulos is back. We'll talk about her in a little bit because I hope that was a surprise to some people. It wasn't a surprise to us. We knew that she was coming. Did you know that she was going to be in it today? No, sorry for that. I started that question not realising that you were mid-yawn. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing her back. I'll talk a bit about that later. And okay, so what stories have we got this week, Gemma? Line them up for
ready
us.
for bed.
It's not bedtime yet. It is many hours for bed.
I've got it's too hot.
Yeah.
I've got a bubble tea I don't really like.
Is that a bubble tea? Have you made your own bubble tea?
No, I got it out of a can.
Oh.
It's got kind of a weird twang to it, and I'm drinking it out of a bamboo straw, and this is the future that my grandparents warned me would happen, and I didn't listen.
You'll be drinking bamboo tea out of bubble straws.
In the middle of a climate crisis.
Toyah loves a bamboo out of a bubble straw. No. Bubble tea out of a bamboo straw, doesn't she?
I just want some brown sugar bubble tea.
Yeah. The cat is jumping around all over the place at the moment. So.
But it's got ice in it. It's got ice in it.
Okay. Right, Gemma, I want to know what stories we're talking about today. I've got no idea. Please tell me.
Right. Imran's dead. That's the first problem.
What's the storyline title, please?
Wham, bam, dead Imran.
Correct. Not Imran.
Packing in Packham.
Yes. Cathy's left us. She's gone. She's left Brian Packham to go. I can't even remember where she said she was.
Chorley?
What?
Chorley?
It might have been. It doesn't matter anyway. She's not going to be in the programme anymore.
Oh,
but that's kind of sad. So we'll talk about her exit next and how maybe a comparison of Melanie Hill's exit to Charlie DeMello's, as they were both have got males in their name, and we'll see which one turned out better.
I don't want to be horrible, but I would rather have driven Cathy into a wall and kept Imran in Chorley.
Would you? Chorley not.
Yeah, that's what you should have called this.
Oh,
Chorley not. Old Soak.
No, Old Soak. Old Soak. She want an old Soak. She is. Yeah, that's still a work in progress title. As I don't even have a title for the film. I love the fact that
Shona's a massive enabler.
Yeah, she is.
We all need Shona in our life, don't we? Just sitting on your shoulder, going, go on, do it.
I had a little bit of experience of what it was like to have Shona in my life last Saturday at the British Soap Awards, and now I've had a taste of it. I don't think I want to let it go. You're right.
Yeah, it's very addictive.
Yeah.
Phil, he's there.
No,
Bohemian Rhapsody,
yes,
again very appropriate, and Turner and Smooch.
Yes, exactly. Do you want to do Wham Bam Dad Imran, Gemma? Or do you want me to do it?
I'll do it.
Yes.
I feel as though this is going to make or break.
Oh my gosh, come on.
I'm so tired.
Let's get some energy. What have you been doing this week? Why are you so tired?
It's been hot. Look, I'm like
I can do the storyline if you want. I'm not too tired.
I'm like Gail's elephant. I'm hot and golden and hot and bothered and worthless. Shall I do?
Cursing us.
And accursed.
Yeah.
Right, on Monday, Toyah is getting ready for the funeral, but she is out of sorts, and so she burns her dress while she's ironing it. I say the day of your husband's funeral is a day you don't need to worry about ironing anything, but that's just me. I've been thinking about it a lot. She's proper on edge. Leanne comes in and tells her that if anyone's got anything to say to Toyah, they're going to have to go through her first. And you've written, "Do you love me, Brian?" Of course.
Oh gosh, this is another bloody note I've put in the wrong place. Stop pointing out my inadequacies in note
I just
writing.
like the idea.
It's hot.
Can you be quiet? I like the idea of Leanne coming up and telling Toyah, "Do you love me, Brian?" And it's like a secret pet name that we've not heard about until today because it's not been stressful enough in the Battersby Live for us to hear about this. So, then we have Alia telling Peter that she wishes Toyah wasn't coming to the funeral because she's acting proper suspicious, which I think is a bit of a bloody cheat.
What a mardy mare.
Yeah, exactly. What's she got to do with any of this? It's not her husband. Remember when her boyfriend died and she wouldn't shut up about it and she made a bloody shrine outside the front of the...
So she should let Toyah grieve
Shut
however
up.
she wants.
She should at least let the wife come to the bloody husband's funeral.
Yeah, totally agree.
If anything, it helps the police gather evidence, see how much you cry.
Yeah, what do you have to say about it, Summer's Robot?
Do one.
Yeah, she can do one, Canalia, can't she?
Peter gets called into the police station. They want to know about his relationship with Toyah and new information because they found out from Adam that Toyah says she wanted to kill her husband. And I know that I'm leaving evidence here for all the future.
Yeah, exactly.
It's making me a bit nervous.
There's going to be an Adam that's listening to this right now and is just collecting it all together.
And I can just say,
turn against you.
Everybody listening here to this who's just laughing along, you're complicit. You just think this is a funny joke, but
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I'm going to come and haunt you all.
You'll know better than Leanne if you're listening to this and you don't take this seriously. How about that? Peter scoffs. He doesn't think this is serious. He says, Adam was very close to Imran and he's just grieving. Toyah and Imran were happy. And then the detective brings up the golden elephant in the room. It's baby Susie.
Yes.
Can you just remind us the quick...
Oh, I knew you'd ask me to remind you about baby Susie. So
Baby
baby Susie was
Susie.
Eva's daughter, wasn't she?
With
That she
Aidan.
had with Aidan. Toyah had done a little plan with Eva that she was going to take the baby. I can't remember why Eva didn't want the baby anymore, but she didn't want it anyway.
Rubbish.
So Toyah was
Rubbish
going to
baby.
raise the baby, pretend it was hers, and she told Peter that... No, how did she make Peter think it was hers? Or didn't she?
She's like, look at it, I found this baby in the toilet. Must have been mine.
I can't remember what happened. But
Well, I'm glad that we've summed this up for everybody.
Toyah planned to make out that the baby was hers or something.
She was
wrong.
doing a conspiracy.
Yeah.
So, the funeral. Mourners arrive. Sarah's crying. She sits next to Yasmin.
She had a bit of a personality change, did Sarah, this week, didn't she? Last week we were like, oh, it's so nice that she's learnt a lesson and she's more forgiving of people. But she was a right cow, wasn't she, to Toyah, saying, oh, it's your fault that Imran's dead. I've heard that you were dangerous driving. So,
Don't spoil it, Michael.
What? Well, what? That's what happened. Did that happen later?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Peter's telling the cop all about Susie and says, the detective is saying, you know what, doesn't it seem a bit extreme? You know, all this kidnapping and whatnot.
Wearing a soap, yes, Wayne.
Toyah gets up and does a little speech, talks about Imran, says he was wonderful, he was flawed. I'm taking notes. He always strove to do what was right. He would do anything to do things, protect people. He was a wonderful partner. He was a great foster father. And she starts crying. And Adam and Alia rolling their eyes as Toyah says that she wishes she was the one standing up there, not him.
I know.
What a pair of gits. Oh, I felt so bad for Toyah. Again, excellent performance.
Of course.
From Georgia
Goes
Taylor.
without saying.
It's so sad. It makes me so sad to watch her crying, knowing that we too are grieving.
There's more to come.
There probably is. Detective continues to push Peter, trying to make him slip up and admit that Toyah is a nutcase, but he's standing by her. I tell you what, I'm both Peter and Leanne kind of have their doubts, I think, but they're being very loyal, and it would be very nice to have them by your side if you had driven your husband into a wall and then said that you don't like tattoos. Which
is why it was maybe not the best idea for Toyah at the end of the week to tell Leanne to bog off when she just wanted to come and ask her if she was okay and make her a cup of tea. Yeah.
No. Toyah invites Sarah to the bistro. I think they're having a wake. But yes. Sarah says to Toyah, this is your fault. You got charged with careless driving. You killed my my son. And then Peter shows up as everybody's leaving, and he tells Adam he's not very happy about the fact that Adam's gone to the police. He takes Toyah to one side, and Peter tells Toyah what Adam has accused her of. And she can't believe this. She's like, it's just a figure of speech. And she also says that they asked about Susie. So she's like, oh God, this might make me look unhinged. So everyone goes to the bistro. Toyah turns up. Leanne's starting to worry. Peter shows up and tells Leanne what's happened with the police. What has Toyah done? This was quite a bold gamble. It didn't pay off.
Not so much.
She shows up at the police station and she says, there are things I need to tell you. And she says, I'm going to cooperate with your inquiries. And she tells Swain that she's like, look, just because I said I want to kill my husband doesn't mean I wanted to. I didn't mean it. I didn't act on it. And she also says, Imran didn't tell me about lying in court. And the cop says, you know what? I've been watching old episodes and you're a lunatic. You very much appear to be a woman who would go to extreme lengths to get a child, and you would do something extreme if you thought you'd be losing them. And also, I've heard you're a vegetarian, but I'm not going to take that into evidence. Adam turns up at the wake and he gets into a massive slanging match with Leanne, who ends up slapping him when he says all the sisters of killers would defend their sibling, which I don't think is strictly true. Toyah is still telling Swain about Susie, and she's like, oh, you know what? I saw the error of my ways. I gave the baby back. It's no harm, no foul. I'm in a good place. I was in a good place with Imran and Alfie before the accident. And the detective's like, I do wonder how you might have reacted if you had found out that Imran had lied in court and you would lose the baby. How would that make you feel? And Toyah says, well, I might have been a bit angry, but I didn't know because I didn't have any idea about that when I got into the car. And then she starts having flashbacks, and they've got like spooky audio of her talking to Imran, telling him stuff.
Just more clips, more flashbacks from the 2 weeks ago.
I quite like this. I thought it was quite spooky and unsettling.
I'm getting a little bit. It was good, but I'm getting a little bit sick of hearing those same clips over and over again.
So she's having flashbacks, but she stands her ground. So she remembers the sort of negative argument that they had, but she's sort of putting on a front, isn't she?
Yeah, she knows more than she's letting on at this point.
Well put. Then Detective Swain says, well, you know what? We found a voicemail on your phone that you deleted. Shall we play it to you? And they play the last final message of Imran, the flashback scene that we had at the beginning of the week that he died.
Flash forward scene, wasn't it?
Where he phones up and he says, don't kill me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And Toyah's listening. A tear runs down her cheek. And she says, I never heard that message. Oh, don't know where that came from.
I didn't do
it. You don't have to pause.
I do have to pause, otherwise you can't hear what is being said.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
she said, I never heard it. And Swain says, well, we know you heard it, and we know you deleted it. And she's like, I don't know, I didn't mean it. I deleted it out of accident. I never heard it, I promise. And it doesn't make any difference because she gets arrested. Sad. Still in the funeral clothes.
Yeah. Bet she stank by the end of the week.
Yeah. Dirty bird. On Wednesday, Toyah's solicitor turns up. Her name's Kim. And she has a big tattoo right on her hand. And Toyah's not very impressed with this. I want to speak to your manager. No, she says, I want to speak to Leanne. And she talks to Leanne on the phone. And Toyah's like, they've arrested me for murder. And my lawyer's got a tattoo.
What?
I can't believe it. Leanne tells Nick, and she's like, I don't understand why they've arrested. Why would she even do this? I don't understand. Why would she drive the car? Why would she do this? Why would she drive a car into a wall to kill him, knowing that it would kill her? In the street, Adam and Leanne see each other and they have it out like two cats having a scrap. And he tries to make her see that Imran possibly was saying something that Toyah didn't like and ran her into a wall. Yes. She won't have it. Kevin...
I think she starts to maybe think, maybe, again as the week is going on, which is why she later on that episode tries to make Toyah think really, really hard about how she's going to
Are
plead.
you sure that you didn't do a little bit of it?
She's like, I would have done it.
And Nick's like, sorry, what?
I know we're not blood related,
What did you say?
but we are Battersby's together and all.
Kevin tells Abby what's happened to Toyah, and he tells Abby, I think, that it's not her fault unless she found out. No, hang on. It comes up that Imran's lied in court, and it might have been Toyah if she'd found out, but she probably didn't know.
Yes.
Maybe. Toya's getting frustrated about nothing happening, and Swain comes in, and she's not going to let her go. She gets charged instead, and she talks to her solicitor, and she's like, I don't understand why they're saying this. They're talking like I wanted to kill myself and my husband. I'm not suicidal. I would never do this. I love myself too much. Look at my beautiful face, for a starter. How would that make a beautiful corpse? Doesn't make any sense. Secondly, this is my best outfit that I was wearing on the day. Wouldn't want to ruin that because I could leave that to Alfie in case he gets married or he wants to cross-dress when he gets older. Who knows? Exactly. Ooh, exactly. So she's like, none of this makes any sense. And the solicitor says, well, we need to explain why you drove into a wall because we've already established...
Most people don't do that.
Well, we've already established there's nothing wrong with the car. There's no CCTV evidence that shows that there was anything else involved in the crash. You literally drove very fast into a brick wall. So we're going to have to explain why you did that kind of gets you off the hook. And the only thing I can really think of is that you were not of sound mind because you knew that you weren't going to be able to keep Alfie because of what Imran had done. And Toyah's like, oh, right, okay. So we're going to say, because I'm infertile, I'm a maniac, and I'm going to run into a wall. Is that what you want me to say? And the solicitor says, do you want to stay out of prison or not? And Toyah says, listen, we need to say I was of sound mind and I wasn't suicidal. And the jury, I don't know what she expects the jury to think. I don't know what her explanation is for why she drove into the wall.
No.
She doesn't have one, because she does not know what happened.
She's claiming not to remember it. Whether she does or not is another matter.
Yeah, this is the question here, is that does Toyah suspect that she did kill
Well,
Imran?
I think so, maybe. Let's get to the end.
Okay, so the solicitor's like, you know what, you could end up in prison for 12 years here, and you're on the wrong side of 40, which I think is goddamn rude.
She only turned 40 a couple of weeks
technically,
ago.
she's only just over 40, and also, she doesn't look a day over 31. And, the solicitor says, if you don't feel guilty, look, we need to keep you out of jail. I don't really care about how we do it, but that's my job. Leanne turns up at the police station and she says, I want to get my sister out. Where is she? And the detective's like, oh yeah, let me go get the key for you. That was quite funny. She's being sarcastic, bitch. In the cafe, Abby and Sally are talking about Alfie. You know, Abby's like, great. Imran's dead. Toyah's in jail.
Got hearing coming up on Friday's episode.
Great. It's all coming up roses for Abby. Solicitor tells Leanne about what's going on, how it does not look very good for Toyah, and she says, I'm going to try and get Toyah to get you a phone call. Will you talk to her if I can do that and get her to go along with what I'm saying? Because I want to get her out of prison. This is one thing that I just want to say bothers me about the justice system, is that it doesn't matter what actually happened as long as you can, but what you can prove in court. And that kind of drives me mad, because the amount of times you hear about people who had to plead guilty to something they didn't do just to get like a reduced sentence. Or like in this case where the solicitor, it's true, doesn't really matter what happened, but they can't prove anything except for the fact she drove into a wall.
Yeah.
So how are they going to explain this to the jury? So the sisters speak to each other, and Toyah's saying, I didn't do this, I wasn't trying to kill myself, it doesn't make any sense, I'm not going to lie in court. And Leanne says, you need to get a new solicitor then. And Toyah's like, you will not believe this woman, she's covered in tattoos, no one's going to take her seriously. It's absolutely disgusting.
I would have thought that Toyah might like a bit of a tattoo, because she was going out with Peter Barlow, wasn't she? And he's covered.
Who does?
Toyah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, both Toyah and Leanne have...
yeah, they've had their dalliances, haven't they?
Peter, haven't they? Yeah,
they've had him, yeah. Toyah's like, well, I can't afford
and
him.
I bet Spider, he's got piercings all over himself. I think Toyah needs to Get off her high horse a little bit.
Maybe that's why they had to replace Nick. He just got tatted up completely and they had to replace him with a new actor.
Maybe.
Toyah's like, I can't afford a new solicitor. And Nail's like, I'll pay for one. She's like, yes, great. You pay for it. Oh, I'll have that. Thanks very much. Cheers. Can't take it back now. Bye. Nick is a bit surprised to hear that Leanne has said that she's agreed to pay for Toyah's solicitor. And Leanne's like, it's going to be thousands. And she sort of tots it up and she's like, it's going to be $5,000 for this and $10,000 for that. And she thinks at the end of the day, it's going to be about 30 grand.
Yeah.
Around that. This is another thing I find really gross. How much money it costs to get yourself out of trouble. He says, look, we don't have that money. And Leanne says, just take it out of the bistro. Michelle says you can just dress up in black and rob the till.
I know, we're doing the perfect opportunity for the Bistro Ninja to come back.
And he's like, no, we can't do that again. It's going to look suspicious. Leanne's getting desperate and he says, look, I'm really sorry. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen. Then Abby comes home from a meeting about Alfie. The best case scenario is that she gets to see Alfie under the supervision of a foster parent. Because, as we've kept saying on the podcast, although lots of people didn't think that Imran and Toyah should have had custody of Alfie, despite the fact that he's the dad, just because they shouldn't have had custody does not mean that Abby automatically got it, because she already got told by the courts that she wasn't allowed.
Yes.
So now the situation has changed a little bit. The only thing that they're willing to offer her is supervision. For now. So she can prove herself. Looks like Nick and Debbie have agreed to use the bistro cast, but that's not true. You've written.
No, just Nick.
No, neither. I think Leanne just nicks it.
Okay.
And gives it to Toyah, and she's like, brilliant.
You're right, actually.
Are you sure that you're 100% certain that I did not do it? And Leanne's like, I definitely would not ever think that you would ever do anything like that. And Toyah says, if my own sister thinks I'd done it, what chance have I got? Sad. Friday, Abby is going to have her hearing about Alfie. And the best case scenario that she can have is that she's got to move out with Kevin and move in with a total stranger, maybe not so strange to all of us, so that she can be with Alfie, so that she can get observed. It's like giving birth to a mutant alien hybrid and then being observed on a spaceship.
By Wendy Crozier.
Yes, I am the alien queen, Wendy Crozier. Actually, it's Papadopoulos now, if you don't mind. I will watch you with your brood.
Oh, I don't think Summer's Robot is a fan of Wendy Crozier.
I think that Summer's Robot's a bit judgmental.
What? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, exactly, Gemma.
Debbie has words with Kevin before the hearing, because she wants to make sure that he's absolutely up for raising Alfie. And he says, yeah, I am. And then she's like, right, just to remind you, when Jack was born, he was born to Molly, who was Tyrone's wife, and when Tyrone found out that Jack was your baby, he didn't like him anymore. And he didn't want to raise him. And then she says, golly gosh, I hope that Jack's not here, because if he heard this, he might be a bit sad. And
what a handy coincidence.
Yeah, it is a bit, because Jack is there, standing, listening, going, this isn't as good as Xbox. He's gutted to hear that Kevin's never brought this up at any point. I guess when would it come up in conversation? Maybe when his legs come off. You think this is bad, kid? How about this? You could have been raised by Tyrone.
Yeah, just about the same time when they should have had that conversation with Hope about John Stape's nefarious deeds when he was younger.
Yeah, all the kids are getting a big healthy dose of Revelation Street this week.
They are, aren't they?
So Jack didn't know that he was originally Tyrone's son, I guess, and that his mother, Molly, was a big slapper who was shagging around, and that's why he ended up with Kevin as his dad, which I'd be upset about if Kevin... Who would you rather have as your dad, Tyrone and Kevin?
Tyrone?
Yeah, I think so as well. Sorry, Kevin.
He's a cool dad.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, he's not that cool, really, is he?
Well,
but he's cooler than Kevin.
Jack stormed off, and Kevin can't get hold of him, and Kevin tells Abby, you're going to have to go to the hearing yourself, because I need to sort Jack out. Jack goes to the garage to see Tyrone and tells him he knows what happened between him and his dad. And so Tyrone sits him down and talks him through it, and he says, yeah, look, I hated Kevin at the time. It wasn't easy letting you go. We were going to tell you, I'm not sure when. We put it off for too long. We love you. Abby does. Kevin's a good man, etc. Jack comes back just as Abby's leaving and tells Kevin that he should go with her and that he's going to be fine with his Xbox. He's over it. He doesn't really care anymore.
Yeah, he's alright. He didn't need Kevin to look after him. He is 43 by now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Surprised Kevin remembers that far back, to be honest, when he was born. It was a long time ago.
I don't understand why Jack wasn't really upset with Tyrone, because I would be.
Why?
Because I'd be like, this is me speaking as a woman, I don't understand this, and I think that men and women have a very different relationship with their children from this angle, which is obvious based in biology, but I cannot imagine raising a child or thinking a child was mine, finding out it wasn't mine and completely rejecting it, which I've read so many stories of people, like relationship problems. I love going on the relationship subreddit, reading all those juicy stories about horrible things that happen to other people, and like it seems to me like 90% of the time when a man finds out it's not his child, he completely switches off.
I can't remember how it happened. It's so long ago. Did Tyrone instantly switch off of him, or did
I don't know?
Did Kevin
but it
sort
seems
of
like
go
this
like,
is
well, can I have him back now, please?
And obviously,
mine.
As a woman, I don't have children, but if I did, I would always know these are my children. But it just seems really sad that some men can just go, nope, not interested, not my kid, not my genetics.
Yeah, and Tyrone hasn't seemingly had very much to do with Jack over the past 60 years, has he?
Yeah, shut up. You think? I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to disparage. Maybe there's some kind of really strong, horrible reaction that happens, but I just think it's really horrible for these poor. Jack was a baby.
Tyrone was going through a lot.
He was. His wife had died.
Yeah, she'd just been slammed by a tram.
Yeah, I'm just saying though that this is not an uncommon story.
No.
Just very, very, and also nobody like Jack didn't challenge him at all and say, "What did you never think of keeping me? Did you not want? What was wrong with me? Why did you not want me?" I just think everybody took it for granted that, oh yeah, of course you wouldn't keep the baby that's nothing to do with you, and that you've got Leah and you've got Toyah driving herself into a wall for a baby that wasn't hers.
Jack understands he's very mature for his age, Gemma.
Okay, well that's all right then, as long as he's got his Xbox.
Yeah.
Debbie wants to talk to Nick because she says there's £5,000 missing that you've taken. Where is this gone? And Leanne's like, oh, it was a bit me. I did take it a little bit. It was for a lawyer for Toyah. She's got a plea hearing.
Lawyers for Toyahs. Actually, they should start up a business, shouldn't they?
Well, I mean,
it's
her
like
husband
every time a new one comes in, she rejects it because of some feature that she doesn't like the look of.
Too tall, too short. Hair's weird.
Yeah, she could have
odd outfit.
They could have a reality TV show, couldn't they, where she auditions them and they could call it Lawyers for Toyahs.
Yeah.
She could have celebrity judge and everything.
She is the celebrity judge.
But she could have a celebrity judge friends.
Yes. Well, you get onto that.
Okay.
Right.
Lawyers for Toyahs, I'm pitching it.
Yeah.
Simon Cowell.
Okay.
Nasty Nick. And Sharon Osbourne.
I love Sharon Osbourne.
Sharon!
She's great as a judge. Okay. Debbie's not happy about this. She tells Leanne, you're not taking any more money, and if you do, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. Okay? And Leanne's like, ooh, sick burn. Abby's having her hearing. She gets a bit hot up. She goes outside and she sits down. And this woman comes up and she says, oh, you're in the waiting room. Are you okay? And she's like, look, I'm trying really hard here, but you know what? These judges are all a bunch of assholes. They're upper class. They're out of touch. They don't understand. They're all a bunch of old farts. Look down their nose on everybody. I'm just a bit worried that they might judge me before they even.
I'm just worried that these judges might judge me.
And the judge says, oh dear.
You've given it away, Gemma. You just said the judge says.
Oh, the lady.
The lady.
She's like, anyway, I've got to go change. Leanne hears the hearing's been put forward and Toyah's pled not guilty and she's been out on bail, which is a bit weird.
That was a bit disappointing that we didn't get to see this.
Do you think that the writers were like, too many bail hearings.
I think Georgia Taylor was slacking off a little bit this week, actually. We didn't see very much of
Do
her
you
on
reckon?
Wednesday or Friday's episode.
I'm going to say that court
get to it.
scenes are the new hospital scenes.
They are a bit, aren't they?
Which is fine
that
with
one
me.
room that they're using
Yeah.
for every single court scene.
I'd much rather have court scenes than hospital sings,
Yeah,
to
but
be honest.
For now,
No,
I'm going
forever.
to get a bit sick of them.
I will never get sick of them. I love the drama. The hearing's ready to
I
start.
suppose, yeah, at the end of the
For
court scene,
Abby.
it's going to be, what are they going to say? I mean, they all follow the same structure, don't they? It's like,
Well,
these
yeah.
people say these things, the other person says the opposite,
Oh,
and then the judge
a
decides.
lawyer's got up and
They
said
kind of
something
all-
really annoying that you know is not true.
Yeah.
And also, I don't relate to the judging scenes in the same way that I relate to the hospital scenes. So I don't feel like I'm kind of being, what's the word, traumatised when I watch the judge scenes.
Yeah, totally.
So the woman from earlier comes out, she goes, ha
If
ha!
you've been affected by issues raised in this podcast, please visit itv.com/advice.
Thank you so much, Robot. That's really helpful advice there. If you've been traumatised by lawyers or court scenes or anything, there you go. You get
But I've
over
been
that.
there and there's nothing to help me.
Well,
The lady
I don't
from
know what I can
earlier
do then.
is the judge.
#speak and save.
Yeah.
Kevin tries to calm Abby down. She's very concerned that she is shafted herself. And she keeps saying, I've lost already. And then we have the lawyer for, I don't know,
The anti-Abby lawyer.
the Queen's lawyer. She's like, I don't like anybody. She says, Abby is a horrible bitch. I mean, to be fair, the facts speak for themselves. Abby's had 3 kids. One of them's dead. 2 of them are in Australia, which is as good as being dead. And it's all Abby's fault.
Mm.
So what makes anybody think that having this 4th child is going to make any difference?
Yeah.
Then we have Toyah coming back to her flat, and Leanne tries to buddy up with her and come, let's have a chat. And she's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to make
What
you
a Mardy
a cup of
bear.
tea. But I
she wasn't
do
there, wasn't she?
want to. I will pay you back for the lawyer, but not at the moment. I've got to sit down. My ankles are killing me. Then we have Abby's lawyer, Elliot, and he speaks up and he says, look, we all know the facts, but facts are boring. Let's talk about emotions. Let's talk about Abby. Let's talk about how she's so great. How many times has she been on the front of Soap magazine?
A bear wash me pants.
Yeah, exactly.
She's
Look
really
how
good at
great she is at washing pants.
She's great at washing
Who's
pants.
going to wash Alfie's pants when he's older
Exactly.
if she can't look after him?
He's talking about her pant washing skills, and Kevin's nodding. He's like, yep. Actually, these ones too. Yep, these ones
Who's
here.
going to wash Kevin's
Wash
pants
these.
now that Abby's moved out as well?
He'll just ship them off.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Maybe Wendy Crozier will end up washing Kevin's pants.
Oh, how the
Come
mighty
down.
have fallen. So, he basically does a speech, and Abby he sits down and she's like, I can't cope with this. I need to speak up for myself. I need to plead my own case. Look, yes, I was crap at being a mum. Yes, I'm a drug addict. Yes, I was high when I gave birth to my son. Yes, I'm only here because somebody got murdered and somebody else drove them into a wall. Yes, all of those things might be true.
Prostitute.
But at the end of the day, I
It's
think
not that bad.
everybody on Twitter agrees with me that I should be in charge of my child because I'm the mum. Case closed. Sits down.
The judge says.
Just like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, I think Alfie should be put with you in a mother and baby foster facility. And this is a chance. This has not been ruled in your favour. This is a chance for you to prove yourself, and you're going to be rigorously assessed. Which sounds, I don't know, a bit kinky. Back on the street, Abby's packing her stuff. She's like, yeah, I'm going to go live in this mother and baby unit. Kevin and Jack are very happy. I don't know why. I suppose they've got a load of microwave meals and they haven't really thought much further than Thursday next week. Leanne finds Nick is listening to Torn by Natalie and Burger and having a reminisce about the time he had a different face and they went to Gretna Green to get married and she stole a dress. And Leanne opens up about Toyah being mad at her and Nick says, don't worry about that. Toyah knows that she loves her. And Leanne says, I know she wouldn't have hurt anybody on purpose because she's a vegetarian.
Veggie lasagne.
Nobody who eats veggie lasagna voluntarily would ever murder anybody.
Exactly.
Then we get to see Abby settling into the foster home and she meets her social worker for the first time. But we've seen her before.
Yes, it's Wendy Flamin' Crozier.
Bum, bum, bum. Will you not honour her marriage to Mr. Papadopoulos and give her a rightful name?
They really should have just changed her name. I mean, I think the reason why... I can't remember why, because she was last on the show back in 2012, which is kind of cool for us, because that was like... Within the first month or two of us starting the podcast, we had Wendy back on it before, and now we're reaching our 10th anniversary and Wendy's back. So it's a nice little, every time we have a significant anniversary, we can have Wendy on the show maybe now, I guess. But yeah, I think that they made her Wendy Papadopoulos just so that maybe Ken wouldn't recognise her name or something. I'm remembering that wrong probably, but I'm guessing that's maybe what happened. They should have just changed her back to Crozier, because who calls her Wendy Papadopoulos?
Mr. Papadopoulos?
Who fan-wise calls her Wendy Papadopoulos? It is a bit of a mouthful. It is
Wendy
a bit of a comedy
Flaming
name. It literally was used as a comedy surname back in the 60s, wasn't it? Because the owner of Leonard Swindley's shop was Mr. Papagopoulos or something, wasn't it? And they made fun of the fact that nobody knew how to say it.
But it is, the thing is, it's a word that trips off the tongue in English as kind of a funny, jovial name. It's
also the funny name from Birds of a Feather, isn't it?
It's fun to say. Papadopoulos.
Yeah, but Wendy Crozier should have a harsh name. Crozier, the Z makes it.
Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they should have just had her realise at some point in the last 10 years that Mr. Papadopoulos was a massive dirty dog, and she's like, I'm denying I was a marriage name. Back to Crozier for me.
We all know, all my friends...
We would have accepted that.
...who have a name with something from the arse end of the alphabet. We all know that we're evil inherently. And so I want Crozier to join my evil club of people with strange letters in their name.
Okay, fine. So how did you find the reveal of Wendy? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was funny because when the judge came out, you're going, oh, it's Wendy Crozier. Oh, no, that's not her. Is it her? I don't remember what she looked like.
I must admit that I did know she was coming back this episode. And they didn't show her. They showed this judge from the back of the head, and I was like, oh, maybe this is who it was. Maybe. Because I also knew that she was going to be like the social worker or something. I think we said when we did it on the Cabin Extra the other month that she was going to be a social worker to a character. So I thought that was her at court. But then when she turned around, it's like, no, I don't think that's her. I think she's a bit older than that. But so I was waiting for the whole episode to see it. And as we were getting closer towards the end, I'm like, this is going to be a final scene reveal, isn't it? And it was. And so I'm really, really excited to see what happens with this on Monday. I'm racking my brains now. I can't remember whether Coronation Street had officially revealed before today that she was coming back. Because I've got a feeling that when we reported on it, it was leaked in one of the online tabloids. So maybe this was a case of Coronation Street wanting to keep it a secret.
It was better as a secret.
It was better as a secret. Because the problem with Wendy Crozier is I don't think she's that epic a character that we need to get ready for her, you know. We don't need preparation for Wendy Crozier. But if at the end of the episode we'd had no idea who she was and then she turned up, that would have been brilliant for a proportion of fans. I get that not everybody would have known who she was or recognised what an important character this is for someone who's been in not even 100 episodes, but they would have had the same revelation today as well.
Right, so who is Wendy Flaming Papadopoulos Crozier?
For the benefit of the listeners, I'll see if I can do a better job with this one than I did with Susie, who's also got a harsh back end of the alphabet name. She's got a Z and a Y.
Oh, I love it.
Wendy Crozier was somebody who worked for the council, I think the planning department of the council, back in the late 80s, 89 I think she was in it. At the time, Ken worked for the paper, and they were both in agreement that what the council was doing, something or other related to planning, was corrupt and evil, and the citizens of Weatherfield needed to know about it. So she started leaking secrets to Ken, council secrets, about what was going on there, and he then printed it in his newspaper. I think Deirdre worked for the council at the time as well, and people accused Deirdre of being the mole, and Deirdre did not like this. But anyway, while all this was going on as well, Ken got so excited by the idea that he was having sexy secrets for the council leaked to him that he got the horn and then bedded Wendy Flaming Crozier, and there was a little affair storyline for the end of 89, beginning of 90, I think, which was also very ironic because not 10 years previously, Deirdre herself had had an affair with Mike Baldwin, and Ken had been rather up himself and stuff about that, hadn't he? Rightly so.
Yeah.
I would never do anything like that to you, Deirdre.
Absolutely awful.
But he did. Tracy later found out about the whole thing. Maybe it was during that she found out about Deirdre and Mike, and that's when that famous Tracy line came again. What was it, Summer's robot?
Rotten cow in tart.
That's the one. She called Deirdre a rotten cow in tart for having it off with Mike Baldwin. But anyway, Ken decides to leave Wendy, and I don't think Deirdre takes him back then, does she? I think that's when Ken then moves out, goes above the corner shop, and he tries to take his own life that one New Year's Eve.
That's
but
when
anyway,
Bet stopped him.
that was the last that we'd
Isn't
seen
it?
of... Yeah, that's right, Bet comes up. That was the last that we'd seen of Wendy Crozier until September 2012, maybe? September, October 2012. And she's a school governor at the local school. Was Ken working there then? I can't remember.
She comes in
Or
2012.
was he
She's
as
like,
a governor?
the mind said it was the end of the world, and I'm one of the
Gonna
final
get in
harbingers.
there. Yeah, they prophesied that there would be a return for Wendy Flaming Crozier before the world went up in flames itself. At that time, that return, Wendy tries to start things up with Ken again, but he refuses to leave Deirdre for her, and the last we'd seen of her before today, I think, was her him forcibly ejecting her from number one and her going off the street crying.
Oh.
And since then, she's been having a lovely time being a foster carer and an assessor of
Women.
Of mums.
Of fallen women.
Yeah, she's been considering that what she's been up to and her reputation, it's a bit rich for her to be so judgy as a job. But anyway, that's who Wendy Crozier is. No doubt I'll be putting the character profile of her up on the YouTube channel probably next week. But anyway, for anyone who doesn't know, that's who she is, and I did a much better job than I did with Susie.
I like the way that Abby says, "Oh, I live in Coronation Street. Have you ever heard of it?" And she's like, "Oh, not sure, but
More of an EastEnders fan myself, actually.
Isn't that the place that fell in a sinkhole?"
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, it's more to it than that, you know. We've got a
There's
really
literally
good pub.
massive drama going on there every month. I suppose the sinkhole
been
was
loads
quite a big one.
There's been loads of murders as well, and fires.
Yeah. Surely, I mean, if you live in Weatherfield, Coronation Street, the street itself, would be notorious.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody seems to mention it.
Well, I
It is
mean,
the
can
hub
I just say
of so much crime and...
that Tyrone's having trouble getting that house sold?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
wonder why that is.
Well, they say it's just because of the sinkhole, but again,
No.
I think there could be more to it than that. Haven't you had some serial killers living there, for example?
See, I think that Ryan Murphy's Mr. Trick, he's got all of his American Horror Story series. He wants to base one in Manchester and have it in Weatherfield, because you could make a whole... You don't need to keep it to one season.
Why not? So I thought it was a good enough way to bring her back. I mean, is she a suitable foster assessor? Who knows, because she might have changed a lot in the last 10 years, and even then we hadn't seen her for 20 years before then. So
sometimes those who have been judged are better at judging others than blah-de-doo-de-blah. And that's my saying of the week.
Interesting that she was brought into this story, though, because she's obviously going to have some kind of hookup with
weird.
Ken at some point, isn't
I
she?
can't see where this is going to hook together.
No, because I mean, if Abby is living wherever this foster carer home is, then there's not really any reason for Wendy to go back to the street. But maybe just Abby talking about the situation or where she comes from makes Wendy a little bit...
Maudlin.
Yeah, a little bit nostalgic for the 80s. I mean, it is Stranger Things season, isn't it?
She's like, Kate Bush is number one. It reminds me when I was shagging Ken.
Yeah. Also, I suppose Wendy did know Kevin, didn't she? Because he was in the show for a good... When did he come in? 86 maybe? So he must have been hanging around when she was there. I don't know whether their paths crossed at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, knowing each other, living on the same street as each other, two different things.
It is, I mean...
What a handy coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly Summer's robot. It's a bit of a handy coincidence, but these things do happen in Weatherfield, so let's not look into that too much. I guess that maybe... Is Abby going to invite her to the street for a drink or something? Because it's not like she has to just stay at this foster home for the rest of her life. So, we'll see. You excited to have her back?
Yeah.
Now say it like you mean it.
But, okay,
I'd rather have Martha's barge back.
Yeah. And Martha's optional.
Yeah. I'm not, I mean... I just like it when they bring anyone back. I like
It's
the,
fine.
the
I'm
shout-outs to the
still
past.
a
but
bit
yeah,
baffled. It could have been anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm waiting for the connection.
Yeah. Do you think, are we going to see, is Ken, now he's young, free and single, well, no, maybe not so much young, is he going to give Wendy another chance?
Yeah.
Are we going to get a kiss?
Let's say yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe we should. What do you think, Summer's Robot?
Can do something.
Summer's Robot is all for it, Gemma, so, let's see what happens there. Toyah this week.
Wow.
So, what does she know? What does she think she knows? What's she lying about? And what's she just hedging her bets about?
And why is she so rude about tattoos?
We'll come back to that bit in a minute.
Oh,
because
okay.
that was a bit stupid, really. But, so we know that everything that we saw on that episode a couple of Fridays ago, we can assume that Toyah remembers that. So she remembers now the fact that they had the argument in the car. She remembers before they got into the car, everything was okay. And to be fair, she did say that to the police officers this week, didn't she? She said, we weren't arguing before we got into the car. Didn't I say anything about during the car ride, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
But we know that she definitely remembers that I hate you with all my heart line, because that was the last thing we saw. So I don't think she knows exactly what happened.
And just to remind everybody who might be stupid like me and just got confused, but I sorted myself out, so I'll help you too. She got the voicemail after the crash had already happened and he was dead.
Yes.
So
before they got into the car, what DS Swain is implying here is that you absolutely listened to that voicemail before you killed your husband, and then you deleted it to hide the evidence.
So here's the biggest flaw then in DS Swain's theory that we need to get one of the solicitors to acknowledge, is that the message was deleted long after Imran was, and listened to long after he was declared dead.
Yeah, which I guess that they would be able to find out, wouldn't they?
Surely they've got to, if they know it was deleted, they would know when it was deleted, and so they can say, well, that evidence proves nothing when it comes to the reasons behind the crash. So they actually do not have any evidence to say one way or the other whether there was an argument or conversation in the car. But we know that Toyah remembers them having that, because she remembers telling Imran that I hate you with all my heart. Now, I'm going to argue here, because Toyah's my girl, you all know that they were driving. Imran said, by the way, left you a message on your phone. You might get that later on. But just to let you know, what it says is, I lied in court. Sorry, my bad. But I love you. And don't worry, everything's going to be fine. I know that I've messed up, but I'm going to fight together. And I've realised that the reason that you haven't got pregnant is because I've been wearing condoms this whole time. So I think we should try for an actual baby that we can share together. And I've also found there's a special cream that you can rub on yourself that will grow like a little tiny clone, like, you know, like how plants reproduce.
Yeah.
So maybe we can rub that on you and you can grow a tiny little Toyah baby. And then Toyah says, when you told me that you lied in court, I thought my response would be, Imran, I hate you with all my heart. But now you've said all these other things, I would never say that. Oh no, there's a squirrel. I better avoid it. Oh no, there's a wall. Oh, what a mistake. And then they crash.
That was a good story. You really put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, I definitely thought about this a long time. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe. You're right. I don't know. I think that she was very silly deleting the voicemail anyway.
Here's another thing that might have happened. They're driving along and Imran says, Toyah, I love you. I'm really sorry. I've messed up. I think you should drive us both into the wall so we can die together. But before I go, I want to tell you that I hate tattoos. And if anybody ever comes near you with a tattoo, you have to attack them.
Maybe. Right. What actually happened then? She remembers saying that she hated Imran. So, and she doesn't know whether she did it or not, but she's now lying. She doesn't know whether she did it on purpose or not.
Drove the car into the wall.
She knows that nobody could ever know that Imran told her in the car. So she's saying, well, I might as well say that he didn't then. Or
maybe she's denying it to herself.
Yeah. Does she feel really guilty about doing it?
Or does she logically think, which everybody tries to be all like, high and mighty and very morally upstanding and everything. But at the end of the day, if your husband's dead and you suspect that you might have had something to do with it, but you're not really sure, are you going to go to prison anyway? Or are you going to be like, I'd rather not go to prison and my husband's dead either way?
Well, yeah.
Because he was like, it's your husband, you can kill him if you want. I thought that was the rule.
No, that's not the rule, Gemma. That's not part of the vows.
But you know what I mean? Like, sorry, but if you are somebody who's done something like this and you think that you did it, I don't think it's without the realm of possibility that you're going to fib a little bit and hash the details and go, no, I definitely didn't do it. Because why would you want to go to prison unless you're like really, masochistic?
Well, but if she thinks that she did do it, maybe she does think that she should be punished for it. Or does she want to get out for Alfie? Does she think that she's completely lost all hope of getting Alfie back now?
She thinks she's lost him. Toyah does strike me as the sort of person who would be like, for the greater good, I must be punished. You know, I can't imagine her conscience letting her live with the idea that she killed her husband. But at the same time, it's scary to go to prison. Yeah. I wouldn't want to go to prison if I could get away with it.
She definitely seems to be very insistent that she wouldn't have done it. I think anyone would say that. And if she did do it in a moment of madness, which is possible, although I still don't think that she did do that, fair enough. But I think anybody would say, no, I wouldn't have done that. And she's absolutely right to say, I'm not the sort of person that would drive headfirst into a wall and possibly kill myself.
Well, imagine if you have no memory of something and everyone's saying to you, yes, you did this thing, and you're like completely sure that you would never do that, but you can't prove it, and you've got evidence in the back of your head going, maybe you did, you would still stand up for yourself and say, no, definitely not. Especially also if it's some kind of mental break or psychosis, because part of the problem with those sorts of things is that you're completely unaware of the fact that you are delusional.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder as well whether she's just hoping to hold out for a little bit longer to see if there's another flashback episodes coming up.
Yeah. I just honestly think that I don't think that they have enough evidence to prove that she did this.
Yeah, and I think I'd be the sort of person like Toyah as well who would plead not guilty. If I really didn't know whether I'd done it and I thought that's not the sort of thing that I would do, I think that she made the right decision. But I don't think that.
I think she's bothered by these memories that she has, and she's sort of thinking like this kind of leads me to suspect that something happened that I'm sure didn't happen, but I'm glad that she's sticking up for herself here and saying, no, I can't have done this. Whether or not it turns out she did or not, I think having a bit of faith in yourself. Yeah. And we're such Toyah apologists. I'm sure there's loads of people listening.
There are, and I
really
think
hate her.
I think the thing is, I'm trying to put myself in the place of somebody who would be on the jury of her trial, and to be fair, there is an awful lot of evidence that would suggest that she did it on purpose, because you're never going to know. That's the thing with the justice system as well. It's like, has it been proven beyond reasonable doubt that she did it? The evidence does not exist that proves she absolutely did it on purpose, but for many number of reasons that have been made apparent, it's quite likely.
Circumstantial.
It is totally circumstantial, but I think if I was on the jury, I probably would be saying guilty here. So again, no wonder she's pleading not guilty. But getting rid of her lawyer wasn't particularly helpful. Although the lawyer was being very insistent that she do it, didn't she?
Well, she was saying you need to plead. You
need to say you weren't in sound mind. Did you think the lawyer was as bad as Toyah did? Because I know everyone's focusing on this tattoo, and I think that wasn't the best writing really. Let's assume that she didn't have a tattoo. Did the lawyer come across as being particularly inept?
Not inept, but practical in a way that Toyah wasn't prepared to listen to. Like, the solicitor is like, it's not my job here to listen to whether you did it or not, unless you're going to tell me you did it. But if you're not going to tell me that you did it, then my job is to work out what the best defence for you is in court.
Yeah, I didn't do any of it.
And the best defence for you is that you went crazy, and that's how we're going to get you out of it, because it's the evidence.
But it wouldn't get her off, would it?
It'd just get her a reduced sentence. But the evidence is undeniable. There was a car. you were in the driver's seat, the car drove into a wall, and when the dust settled, you were still in the driver's seat, your husband was in the seat next to you, and you had driven the car into a wall, and it had no fault, there was nothing wrong with the brakes, there was no reason for you to have not stopped, apart from you meant to do it on purpose, whether because you were homicidally enraged or you were suicidally upset.
Yeah.
One way or the other, you did this, and we've got to work out how to get you out of it.
We didn't meet this new solicitor yet, did we? So I'm interested to see what their opinion on the piece is, and will they be able to find any other evidence that casts Toyah in a bit more of a less guilty light. I'm also interested in the fact that now that Toyah knows exactly what Imran's done, that she's still a massive apologist for him, and she's not sort of saying, I really hate Imran. She's left with happy memories of him.
But is she lying to herself, or is she trying to fool herself here? Is she not letting herself indulge in the negative emotion because she feels like it might overtake her again?
I suppose if at this point she lets herself get too mad about it, then she's going to start thinking, you know what, maybe I did do it, and that's the last thing that she wants to think. So the more that she's saying he was wonderful, he was the perfect husband, etc.,
it's
etc.,
like plausible deniability for your own brain.
She's saying, therefore, I would not have done this to him.
Yep.
Which is why I guess Alia and Adam and that lot were rolling their eyes so much at the funeral. I'm surprised we haven't had Alia crowing all week about the fact that Toyah's been arrested for murder. That seems right up her alley to go smugging about saying, ha ha ha, Toyah's been arrested. But she's kept quiet for some reason.
I couldn't believe it when Toyah went on this rant at the solicitor about the tattoo. We were like, oh my god, are you trying? Why? I feel like I'm being personally stitched up by like the writing team to try to make and anyone who is a sort of apologist for Toyah or a fan of Toyah look like a maniac.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also like spent quite a lot of time thinking this week, like, how can I justify this? How can I make out that this wasn't like a really horrible thing to say to somebody and
they shouldn't have
really judgmental and horrible.
They should have just made the lawyer look a little bit of a rubbish lawyer. One of the things that somebody I saw online say is that I think Toyah asked her, how many cases have you had, or have you done anything else like this? And the lawyer doesn't say anything, which might imply that this could be her first case, because she was quite young, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And I think that it probably would have been better if the duty solicitor had just, as a character with a certain personality, been really, really terrible. The tattoo thing just makes Toyah look like a massive snob. And enough people already think that about her.
I don't, it really feels strange. Like, I feel like Coronation Street's done this before in the past, where they've set up a character and they've kind of made them look guilty and everyone's supposed to go along with it, and then, you know, this big shock twist is that they're not guilty at all. Because
what this is eventually going to happen is that she may or may not get prison time. I haven't decided in my head yet whether she's going to get sent down, but it's not out of the realms of possibility, because it's been 3-4 years since Sally was sent down, and so it's about time for another wrongful imprisonment storyline again. But whatever happens, she is going to get off at some point, and as viewers, we're supposed to say, hooray, Toyah's got off.
Yeah, but we're
making
not
her
going
like
to.
this, and what a Mardy mare she was to Leanne when she came back asking for a cup of tea and everything today.
But in a way,
they need to make her a little bit more sympathetic and likeable.
But in a way, it feels more relatable and realistic. Like if I like, I don't really care if you have a tattoo, but if I know that I'm going to go to court and people are going to judge everything I do and say, and also my solicitor, I might be a bit surprised to see somebody with like such a visible tattoo.
Yeah.
And like knowing that people are prejudiced against people with tattoos, it might be of concern to you that you might end up being judged by that. And it sounds stupid and it's not fair, but it is a valid thing to be worried about if you're up for like your husband's murder and you didn't do it. And you're thinking, there's so much evidence. There's so much evidence here against me. I need all the help I can get. And like I said again, I don't care if you got to tattoo your face. I don't care. I think it looks cool on some people. But people will judge. And that's why in America, you have this big song and dance about jury selections and like having, you know, people like very famous murder suspects like Casey Anthony, all these people dressing in a certain way, being told how to do their hair and what to wear and put glasses on and wear a suit and all this, and and what do you wear in court, like your solicitor, what do they wear, what does their suit look like? For example, one of the things I keep talking about the staircase. I nearly called it the suitcase, the staircase. But one of the things that they said was, this was in Durham County, which is in the south of America, and I think his name's David Rudolph comes in. He's David Peterson's lawyer. He's like a slick city lawyer. He's got this very expensive suit on, and they were talking about, he thinks he's that or that because he's wearing this expensive $1,000 suit. And they notice these things, and these things go into how you are perceived and how well your court case goes. Like in this country,
maybe they should have lent into that a little bit more then, rather than just making Toyah look like a snobby git.
In this country, our legal representatives have a uniform, so they wear their wigs, they wear their gowns, and it kind of is a method of making everybody look the same, so nobody gets judged, and they take that element of looking at somebody's appearance is kind of taken away to a certain extent. But then you've got the solicitor who's had this, tattoo done, and she hasn't had it removed, and maybe that's why Toyah's mad about it. And I know that lots of people probably listening getting mad about this. And the other thing I was thinking about too is that everybody, not everybody looks the same, and people who judge people by their appearances, we shouldn't pander to them because that's what's holding everybody back. Who's to say that this kind of prejudice can be applied to, say, a black lawyer? And you say, well, I don't want a black lawyer because there might be somebody on the jury who's racist. Is that a good thing to say? No, I would never say that. I would never stand behind anybody that said that, even though I acknowledge that maybe that would be the case if you were up for murder. And I don't know. I'm just thinking, Toyah is obviously a bit stressed out, and I've been trying to think of how to justify it. But yeah, she is being a judgy bitch.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying because I don't want her to be hated and slandered by the show.
No, but I mean, there have definitely been parts over the last week or two that have been put there specifically to elicit sympathy for her. I think that the funeral speech, for example, really, really did. I thought that she did a brilliant funeral speech, and Georgia Taylor certainly should have, got a few bottom lips wobbling with that one. The moment when she was shown the CCTV footage last week as well, definitely.
But it's like a question of like, why have you done this?
But then also, the final scene that we got of this week was Abby cradling baby Alfie, saying, "Oh, I've got you at last. I'm never going to let you down. I love you forever." That sort of thing. And it felt like that was the triumphant end to the week when Abby, the one who clearly deserves to have this kid, has finally got him.
Yeah, definitely. It's nothing gets put in on by accident, does it? So why has that been put in, and how should we feel about it?
Yeah. So anything else to add to this? Do you think that now that Abby has got the opportunity to be judged by Wendy, is it going to work? Is she going to is she going to get Alfie at the end of this?
Yeah, I reckon so. One thing I was going to say is that I was reading on, I look on the Coronation Street Reddit, subreddit, and one of the things they were talking about is the old thing of Coronation Street used to be better back in the old days, blah, blah, blah. And one of the comments that stuck out to me that I think relates to this week is that they didn't try to make you like all the characters, and they could be more flawed. And I think Toyah's a really good example of that this week, because she is very flawed and she's not very likeable, just like Leanne was when Ollie died. And I think that those kind of three-dimensional characters are actually a lot more interesting than just goody two-shoes, likey, nicey people. Well,
Abby's definitely got her flaws, hasn't she? And has been portrayed as such.
I saw another comment that was saying, but I don't like any of the characters now, they're all horrible. So I don't really know what to say about that. But it is more interesting when characters aren't just completely Snow White but it is hard when it's your favourite and they're just being an arsehole.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe there might be something to say about how your solicitor presents themselves, and is that going to harm your... I don't know if that's true, but you certainly shouldn't shout it in the woman's face as she's trying to help you, especially when she's like doing it because she's the duty solicitor. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well. I'm just like...
Still looking forward to this next week. I am definitely gripped by this story. I just felt that this week I wasn't as gripped as I had been for the past few.
In penance to everybody who has a tattoo who might have been offended by my comments about tattoos and how people judge them, I'm going to offer to you, to make amends, I'm going to get a tattoo myself.
What?
On my face that says I love Toyah. So it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword for you guys. So just let me know what you think.
Yeah, good idea.
Let's move on to the next story.
Okay, Summer's Robot is fed up with this. I'm clearly an Abby fan there. Okay, so packing in Packham then. So this is the week where we got to say goodbye to Cathy Matthews. We've known this has been coming for a little while, not too long. It was revealed in the press recently. How did this exit go then? Let's have a look, because
still kind of can't believe that she's gone. It feels a bit like I've got a bit of whiplash here.
I know, totally. Yeah, as per usual with these kind of things. So Brian's still banging on about Cornwall at the beginning of the week.
That's what Imran died of. Whiplash.
Yeah, exactly.
Just want to point out, do we know what Imran died of? Because I don't know.
I don't think they're going to say anything new. I mean, he's ashes now, isn't he? I was waiting to see whether they were going to do an autopsy and go, hang on a minute.
A quite intensive autopsy, considering that he's been... Why have they...
You just had a little heart attack because it takes it out of you to have a car crash into scaffolding.
But if I was the solicitor, I'd be saying, the crash didn't even kill him, so what are you talking about? He fell over, he did oopsie-daisy disease, it's not my client's fault.
Well, maybe they still will, won't they?
Well, they can't test ashes, can they?
Right.
Sorry.
Brian, let me talk about Brian. So he's got his Cornish fudge. He's still got his heart set on moving down south. Cathy is clearly not at all keen about this.
Don't come down, it's too hot.
But Brian's kind of saying, oh, it's going to be so idyllic, it's going to be lovely. And it kind of, this whole painting a beautiful picture about how wonderful the West Country is ends up in a kind of an attempt at a proposal. Yeah, that's what we call it, isn't it? The West Country. That's Cornwall. And he says that it's going to be great for insurance purposes and so on if we're married, and you get all the, the married couple benefits.
Oh yeah,
and
all the perks.
We could do a podcast and everything. She's not impressed and leaves because it's not the most romantic of proposals. So she heads over to the Rovers where she starts telling everyone about this naff proposal that Brian did. And also she says she found out about these letters. And I'd forgotten about these at the beginning of the week, even though that was one of the final scenes of last week. And we were kind of wondering what these letters actually were. But it turns out that he's been corresponding with Julie, his ex, Julie Carp. And if you want to know more about her, take a look at our YouTube channel because we uploaded the character profile of her just a couple of days ago. But anyway, so he's been receiving letters from her a couple of years ago when all the trolling storyline went on. And Julie was saying, I can't remember whether he was saying that he missed Julie as well, but Julie definitely seemed to be hankering after Brian, and the last letter that she's got was one with Julie saying, have you ever thought about us having a reunion together? And Daisy's like, well, what a cliffhanger, which I thought was a brilliant line by Daisy. That's one of my lines of the week, I think. Bit fourth wall breaking, but I mean, it's not funny. the only fourth wall breaking in the Rovers this week, because we also had Maureen Littman and he's got an ology line, didn't we? Which was brilliant. Anyway, Cathy says, but this is my life here. It's not a cliffhanger. Jenny says, well, whatever happens, love is going to triumph, just like me and Leo, because they sweep that one up pretty quickly. Apparently, since last week's Dwight Eisenhower incident, Leo and Jenny have worked it all out. They're bunked up again and everything's cool. So
that's good.
What was the point of that, really?
No more questions.
I don't know. Leo's not been hasn't been forgiven so much that he's actually allowed to appear in any episodes this week, but if anyone wonders what's going on there, they're fine now. Anyway, then the mixologist comes in. So there's this Jim Fizz chap who Daisy has booked in to do some cocktail lessons at the Rovers, and I didn't get on with Jim Fizz as a character, did you?
No,
He was supposed to be like kooky and fun and crazy and a bit sad and a bit school disco DJ-ish, but I didn't really like him.
I was just stuck on the idea of like, why would you ever pay somebody to teach you how to make a cocktail?
If I was Daisy, and I wanted someone to come and do cocktails, I'd probably pick a more classy cocktail mixologist.
Daisy doesn't seem like the sort of person who goes, oh, Jim Fizz looks like the sort of guy that I
No.
want on my Instagram account.
I want swanky cocktails, please.
She wants, like, stud tails.
Bring back Henry.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
getting Henry Newton
Henry
in
the
to come
stud.
and show everyone how to make their Uber Doovers. Exactly, Summer's robot. Anyway, so the party is in full swing later. Well, you know, the lesson or whatever you want to call it. It's Evelyn, Cathy, Fizz turns up. And they didn't make any comment, unless I missed it, did they, about there being Fizz and Jim Fizz together? I don't know.
No.
But anyway, Jim Fizz tells Cathy that he reckons she'd have better evening if she stayed here rather than going back to Brian, because he's been listening to her talking about this pants proposal, and he says, no, you stay along with me, I'll show you how to have sex, make a sex on the beach or whatever. Later on, Cathy is 3 sheets to the wind. Jim's hitting on her, but then Brian turns up to the pub. By this point, though, Cathy is nowhere to be seen because she's out the back necking Jim. And so then Evelyn comes out and it's like, oh my gosh, what have I just walked in on? You're snogging the mixologist. They pull away from each other, but it's too late. Evelyn's seen it. Brian comes out the back, but Evelyn's able to chase him away before he finds out what's been going on. And she's like, oh yeah, Cathy's gone for a kebab. She's not out here, don't worry. And Cathy does a kind of look of, oh, what am I doing? Ooh. Back in the pub at the end of the episode, Evelyn's trying to convince Cathy that it's not the end of the world. You just made a mistake. You need to sober yourself up. Confront Brian about these letters because he has been corresponding with his ex, let's not forget. And then maybe you should confess about what's been going on with this mixologist guy, which is just a silly mistake, a drunken mistake. Cathy goes and throws up in the loos. On Wednesday's episode, Cathy starts to get worried that Brian's been told about the kiss, because I can't remember what it is, but it's probably something along the lines of him coming in and says, I know all about Jim Fizz, or something like that. But
well, he's like, I've got a problem. I'm worried, and it turns out
that's it. Oh yeah, he's just worried about the number of canal boat magazines.
He's
that
like,
they're
we've
stocking.
got this copy of Pokemon World, and it's not been published for 7 years, and I've never had blood on it, and I don't know where this came from.
That was something else that went on this week, wasn't it? Was it this week that the Pokemon magazine was on the show? Did we talk about it last week? I thought maybe we did.
We haven't. I don't know.
It turned out this week because somebody posted a screenshot of it on Reddit, didn't they? Apparently he came with a free bloodied knife. And,
that's not normal.
And it
for
seems
Pokemon.
like maybe somebody at the Coronation Street props department was just having a bit of fun with that. And I hope the Pokemon
not
company
a company
don't find
to
out.
mess with. I'm just going to say
Gemma
that.
knows from personal experience, Pokemon experience. You're a Pokemon trainer, aren't you, Gemma? Or are you a gym leader?
They take like a month to approve things.
Anyway.
Not happy.
I think that maybe if you have got 4 canal boat magazines in stock in a tiny little newsagents like that, Brian's not wrong in thinking that maybe they've got a few too many.
Yes, what the hell are they doing?
He says, well, what happened last night then, Cathy? You came in and you went straight to bed. And she's like, oh, I was just really, really drunk. I'm ashamed of myself. That's all there is.
No more questions.
No more questions, please, Brian. So Cathy goes over to see Evelyn later, she's agreeing to keep the secret, but she's also relishing knowing that she's got a bit of gossip. Cathy says, look, it was just a stupid, meaningless kiss. And I can't remember. Evelyn says, what, you're gonna live with the guilt forever then? And Cathy says, oh, give it a bash. Evelyn says, no, you really should tell Brian about finding the letters. And then while he's reeling from that, which he has done something wrong here, he's secretly corresponding with his ex, while he's feeling guilty about that, that's when you sneak in the fact that you snogged the mixologist around the back of the Rovers the other night.
Yes, so, Evelyn's very good at relationships. That's why she's still happily married.
Yeah. Later on, Brian's still very stressed out with his magazine selection. Cathy's trying to calm him down and saying, look, it's mostly sale or return anyway, don't worry. And also, yes, I will marry you. Yes. So she's decided, rather than to...
Don't confess, just marry.
She gives him what he wants first before she's going to slip him a little truth bomb about Jim Fizz. Jenny catches Brian in the street later and says, I've just heard about this, the other day I heard about this proposal that you made to Cathy. Seems to have left her a little bit unimpressed, to tell you the truth, because she got absolutely bladdered last night after that. And Brian says, well, she's accepted my proposal now. So Jenny's like, oh, don't worry about it then, that's absolutely fine. And then he kind of gets the idea that in order to impress Cathy, he should have a go at learning how to make cocktails himself, and they could have a lovely cocktail thing together, a nice romantic with new fiancé sort of thing. So who do we know that can teach him how to make cocktails? Jim Fizz, of course. So he gives him a ring, he comes over and gives him an impromptu cocktail lesson in the cabin because...
I don't understand how he's got this free time. He's so in demand.
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you? But yeah, and he doesn't even take him up to their flat or anything. All this time, we've never seen Brian and Cathy in their flat together, have we? So of course, it's in the cabin. That makes total sense. Anyway, Jim's a little bit loose-lipped during this lesson, and he's like, "Oh yeah, have you ever, the rove's over the road. It's full of sexy redheads over there, isn't it?" And Brian's kind of thinking, "Hang on a minute, are you talking about Jenny there, or is there someone else?" And
there's loads of them.
There are quite a few. And he talks about going to the Rovers, getting lucky with one of the redheads there, and Brian's starting to think, "Hang on a minute, I think I know who you're talking about here." Cathy, meanwhile, has gone over to number 9 and told Evelyn that she's accepted this proposal. Brian's the one for her.
Hooray!
She's even got herself this fake headline printed from the novelty shop.
Well, that was fast.
I didn't like some of the writing on Wednesday's episode, I have to say. There were a few things like, "Oh, what's that shop that sells novelties called? Oh, it's called Novelties," or stuff like that. And Wednesday's episode was also the one where they kept banging on about the new Weatherfield County kit.
Can I just tell you, though, that that's about the level of our humour on this podcast, so I don't know who you think you are.
Yeah, but I hold Horry to a higher standard than I hold myself.
Oh, do you?
What did you think of the Weatherfield County stuff?
I was just waiting to be shown it. They kept talking about it.
Well, they showed a picture of it.
Did they?
They showed a render of it.
They said, if you think that's bad, you should see the away kit.
Yeah, they didn't see the away kit. I don't think it was Jonathan Harvey that wrote that episode, but sometimes he does that, doesn't he? He kind of throws in a topic that everybody's talking about to try and show that these characters live in a shared universe where things are going on. I don't know, but every time they started talking about this stupid Weathy kit, I was like, move on, I don't care. So anyway, she's got this novelty headline that she's gonna, which she puts on the calling boy, the newsstand outside the cabin that says Cathy to marry Brian, shocker, or something. It looks like it came off the front of Inside Soap magazine. Meanwhile,
she's just trying to get on the front cover, and she's writing her own headlines to try to pitch it to them.
Yes.
Didn't work.
Meanwhile, Brian is doing absolutely terribly with his cocktail making, and I didn't think it was the best performance because he was literally standing with one thing, with the shaker in the air and the glass down here, and he was very obviously wobbling it all over the place just to make it look like he was doing a bad job. But it didn't work for me. Unfortunately, I was already thinking it's odd that it was taking place in the cabin, and Brian was being a little bit too Brianish for me, unfortunately. But
well,
anyway,
Jim agreed with you. He said that Brian's got no pizzazz.
He does. He says he's got no pizzazz. Let's call it a day here. I'm going to charge you for the whole session, but you don't have it. Like,
well, no, you
that's
give
a bit
it to
rubbish,
me.
Isn't it?
I've hired you to show me what it is.
Yeah. As Brian says, okay, then he gives it very easily. And then Jim takes the opportunity, now they've stopped the lesson, to talk to him a bit more about this woman he copped off with at the Rovers last night, because apparently she just had a terrible proposal herself. I think this comes up because Brian says, "Oh, I just got engaged and we're going to have a lovely cocktail party," or that was the plan. We were going to have. I was going to make cocktails for my fiance, and then Jim Fizz says, "Oh yeah, I know somebody who had a terrible proposal the other day."
She was the bird I got off with.
Yes, and it begins to dawn on Brian that he's talking about Cathy. And then just to cement this, the guy says, "Oh, and her ex has been her fiance, has been corresponding with his ex too." So Brian's now terrified because he realises that Cathy has found out about these letters to Julie. So meanwhile, outside the cabin, we got Cathy putting the headline thing up on the call-in boy. Neighbours are all gathered round. They're all excited about this, but then Brian comes out absolutely fuming, saying, This is fake news, in the words of the 45th President of the United States. We're not getting married. He ushers Cathy inside and says, I know all about Jim. And she's like, oh no, I love you, I promise. But he doesn't believe it. She brings up the letters and he says, you know what, Julie was the one that was writing to me. I rebuffed all the advances, actually. I've had it with you. This is, you've gone too far this time,
You've
Cathy.
gone too far.
Too far.
Too far.
Friday, Cathy's with Yasmin in the cafe and she is totally ashamed of herself. Roy comes over and says, oh, I'm sorry, I've heard about all your troubles. Anything I can do to help, etc. Yeah, but this is kind of getting the feeling of this is somebody's final episode, so we're going to gather the characters that have had something to do with them over the past few years and make sure they have a few final scenes together. But Roy isn't particularly helpful there. Evelyn comes over to the cabin to see Brian and he's like, have you made it with Cathy yet? He says, look, I just don't know what to say to her. He's also pretty narked to hear that that Evelyn knew about the kiss before he did as well. Cathy goes back to the cabin later and she says, look, what I did was wrong, I'm sorry, and he's decided that it's probably best if he gets on her good side and says, look, you don't have to explain. I could see I was making you unhappy. Those letters didn't help. I can understand you must have been pretty hacked off when you found them. I don't want to lose you, which is why I've just put in an offer on a house in Cornwall for us.
Yay!
That was a really silly move for Brian to make, considering one of the reasons that she was so fed up with him before was she was clearly not in any way interested in Cornwall. So why he thought that this would win her round, I don't know. I mean, it does, because Cathy is also...
Doesn't.
Well, it does for about five minutes, doesn't it? Because Cathy's like, yeah, let's move to Cornwall.
He's also made the rookie error of thinking that making an offer on a house means anything in this
I know.
day and age.
So Cathy goes and tells Alex and Evelyn about this, and Alex we've started to see him a little bit more recently, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because it's been over the past few years during COVID.
Haven't seen much of Alex.
Seen much of him at all, but
back behind the bar in the cafe, and he can tell that she's not into the idea.
No.
Evelyn's like, probably you should tell Brian that you're not.
Yes.
You don't want to do this.
So Cathy heads back and she's intent on telling Brian that actually I don't want to move to Cornwall, which is kind of what I've been saying all along. And Brian doesn't let her speak. He says, look, there's been loads of interest on this house. I'm going to up the offer. No, let's wait and see. And then go and gazump people
higher.
at the end. Let's go up. And Cathy says, stop, Brian. I don't want to move to Cornwall with you.
Oh.
What? So inside she says, there's something wrong between us, isn't there? And it's not just to do with this house. This isn't about the move. We've not been going
Gelling.
so great for quite a long time now.
Yeah.
Something missing here. And you must be feeling the same way, otherwise you wouldn't have kept these letters from Julie. And then it kind of starts to sink in that they're having a splitting up conversation.
It's quite a mature and kind of sad...
It was.
Realisation they both come to together, and there's no hard feelings particularly. It's just a very sad conclusion to something that didn't work out.
Yeah, totally. So the final scene? No, the final scene with Wendy, wasn't it? The penultimate scene of the episode, I think, was Cathy packing all her stuff up into the Woody. Which I'm sure doesn't make sense because I'm pretty convinced that Roy sold that car when he was moving to Peru next year. But never mind, maybe he's got a new one that looks the same.
Well, there's probably a few of them.
Yeah. So she says her goodbyes to Alex and Yasmin. They all have a little cry there. Drive off. Roy drives her away. Brian jumps in the way of the car and says, wait, Cathy, I've got you a... What was it? He gave her some sort of cakes. I don't know. It was something out of one of the jars in the sweet shop, wasn't it?
It was something significant.
A bag of cake.
Here you go.
It was a pretty
no
poor
hard
final,
feelings.
yeah. And she says, "Oh, have a good life" or something, and then drives off down the road, and that's about
Ta-ra.
it. Yeah, exactly.
it's-
Ta-ra to you as well. Yeah.
The usual thing of like, I'm literally moving around the corner. I'm going to Jedstone it.
Yeah.
Just imagine I'm here, and everybody I like I'll see all the time, but the rest of you I won't, and I'm not going to be on television.
I don't know how far away it is where she's moved to, but
Well, she was
she's
sort of saying,
gonna be
"Oh,
in
you
the
can come and see
vicinity,
me all the
isn't she?
time."
yeah. But I don't think we are going to see her.
We won't
I
see her.
fear that this is indeed the last that we've seen of Cathy, unless Peter Gunn decides to leave Coronation Street at any point soon. Maybe she could come back and whisk him away, but. The way I'm feeling at the moment, I'm thinking I'd probably prefer to have Julie come back and do that.
I would love it if Julie came back.
Yeah. So you said at the beginning that this was a bit of a quick departure for Cathy, and I totally agree with you.
Just so that you know, Michael,
Oh, yeah?
Chorley is about half an hour
Oh, is that
to
all?
the northwest
Yeah.
of Manchester.
Okay, fine. So it really is pretty close, isn't it? But yeah, I feel that she's not going to be returning to the Rovers anytime soon. It was a textbook. I'm going to leave really quickly without having that much of an exciting storyline, but I suppose I need to have a bit of a storyline, so can we have 2 weeks maybe to try and make it look semi-realistic, but it doesn't really work, wasn't it? It was a bit like, when Emma decided at the last minute, just a couple of months ago, that she was going to disappear off to Australia with John. It's a shame, but I don't know the circumstances around Melanie Hill's departure. I know that she did decide to leave herself, didn't she? This wasn't an axing in any way. She wanted to move on. There were some quotes from her a few months ago when this broke, but Corrie clearly didn't want to give her a massive storyline. And if you compare what happened to Cathy with what happened to Imran, there's just no comparing, is there?
If you compare them, you can't compare them.
You just cannot compare them. I mean, this. Just imagine in a parallel universe, Cathy's departure storyline was the leading story in Britain's Got Talent Week. I think they probably did go with the right character to give the screen time to, but it feels like if I was Melanie Hill maybe. And that was the exit I got after giving 6, 7, 8 years of my life to Coronation Street. I'd maybe be a little bit disappointed, but also maybe not particularly surprised, because this is probably the biggest story she's had in about 5 years.
It's sad to say, but that's the truth, really. And I think it just illustrates the issues that Cathy's characters had for a long time. She came in, guns blazing. She had a big story. She was dating Roy. She had the twists and the turns, the revelations about her sister. She had a hoarding. She had the fire. There was a lot of stuff that she was involved in, and Melanie Hill's more than capable of holding her own in these. And she, when she was hooking up with Roy, it felt very much like, they are investing a lot here in this character, and they really think that she can do a good job. But I don't know that kind of sustained itself.
No, and when they gave Melanie the job in the programme, it was like, look at this well-known, this big actress. I mean, that a lot of you will have heard of. It's not a nobody. This is Melanie Hill. She was married to Sean Bean, and for crying out loud. So to give somebody with her background a character that just fizzled out after a few years and then remained fizzled before...
It feels like she's a victim very much of how big the cast is.
Yeah. And it could happen...
People get lost.
Yeah, and it shows that it could happen to anyone. And I guess when I was talking to Amanda Barry earlier this year, she talked a lot about making links, and if your character's got lots of links, then that's good. Why would this character have a reason to talk to this one and this one and this one? And it's kind of spreading your reach in the show. And Cathy just didn't, did she?
No.
The fact that only a couple of people were there to say goodbye to her says it all. She didn't have much to do with anybody that wasn't Roy, who is a big character obviously, Alex, who's also barely in it, Yasmin, and then obviously Brian, and that was it.
We talk a lot about how kind of secluded the Baileys are, but actually quite a lot of the cast is pretty fragmented compared to the very early days when there was,
everyone
a few dozen characters and they all talked all the time to each other and it felt more natural. Really does feel like these characters are kind of like sort of a series of small islands.
Yeah. But even with Cathy and Brian, like I said, we never saw the flat that they shared together, even though it was literally right there. When they bought the cabin, that almost coincided with the fact that, with the time when they stopped showing the cabin. We've hardly had any cabin scenes with them in.
That's really unfortunate, because the cabin should be a major
hub for getting characters to interact with each other.
I mean, are Cathy and Brian another kind of victim of COVID, in that with fewer reasons for these characters to go to shops without having masks on and all the rest of it? Is it more difficult to justify these scenes? Are these sets more difficult to film in because of how small they are? Because I'm not sure about... I think that there were rules concerning how big the set had to be before you could be allowed to have a certain number of people in it. Which is why we had lots of weird scenes in the in Speed Dial, which didn't make any sense because that was a bigger set. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just speculating here, but feels like a lot of unfortunate events kind of coincided to muscle Brian and Cathy out.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're Melanie Hill, you got lots of other things that you could be doing. Maybe you feel like, well, I'm going to go to Chorley.
Somebody out, another character who should have links with Cathy, but I don't know whether we've ever actually seen them in a scene together, is Shona, because Shona's been working in the cabin allegedly for the past 3 or 4 months now, hasn't
Not for
she?
the last week, Michael. She's had a very stressful duvet week.
She has had a duvet week this past week, yeah, but she's been working there, so really, she and Cathy should be quite close, but Shona wasn't there to say goodbye, and she really, really could be, because Julia Goulding was filming that week. She was in this week's episode.
Yeah.
Although I guess if she'd have turned up and waved her off, then probably that would have left quite a few viewers scratching their heads saying,
Like,
why
how
is
do they
Shona
know
there?
each
How
other?
do they know each other? Yeah. I wonder now, is Brian going to struggle to run the cabin on his own? Was Shona brought in to work in the cabin back whenever it was, March time, in anticipation of Melanie Hill leaving, so that we know that he's not on his own there anymore?
To be honest, though, at a certain point this week, I was thinking, is Brian going as well? And they just haven't told us as like a shock.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Is there any reason for him not just to up sticks and go to Cornwall now? Because he clearly really, really, really wants to go and have a nice
what's going to
pasty,
be his
doesn't
reason? Maybe he's going to discover you can buy pasties from Devs.
Maybe. I guess maybe he can't afford the house if it was going to be partly bought between him and Cathy.
Well, I don't imagine him getting a good rate on a mortgage.
No. But if he really is that keen to go to Cornwall, why not go? But there's going to be some reason for it, I guess. Did you think it was, as quick as Cathy's exit was, did you feel that both characters were acting in character this week? Is Cathy the sort of person to drunkenly snog a mixologist? No. We have seen her get a bit saucily before.
Yeah, and she's been high as well.
She has been high and drunk, yeah.
When she was high on mushrooms, I think that was my favourite Cathy moment. That was absolutely brilliant. I don't think this really... It all felt very contrived.
People do randomly snog people when they get drunk, but it did seem a little out of character for her, but not completely. Because she... Even with like all the stuff she did with Jasmine and Elaine last year, she was often a bit impulsive, maybe.
Yeah, impulsive is a good word.
So I didn't completely think it was out of character for her, and the same with Brian wanting to go to Cornwall. We were just talking about him recently, and he's upped sticks to go to Wales in the past. So
Wales and
he
Cornwall
certainly
very
doesn't.
close.
Yeah, no, he certainly isn't the sort of person to want to rest in the same place for too long, is he? So I guess that was in his character, but it just feels really sad when you see these characters who, as far as we know, and that's the problem, we just have to guess because they never show it, that they had a really solid relationship. It's sad to see them split up over a small thing. And it's similar to Fizz and Tyrone, isn't it? That was... Actually, was there a kiss before they split up? I think maybe there was.
Yeah.
I think... and
Tyrone kissed Alina.
Yeah, and we had to accept that because of something fairly small, Tyrone and Fizz would split up over it rather than work through their problems. And I just got the impression that this wasn't that big enough of a bombshell for them to have gone from, at the beginning of the week, everything was kind of okay. Can you imagine that? Just on Monday, maybe you're a bit hacked off because of something that your spouse has done.
Well,
by the end of that day, it's fine actually because we're engaged, or maybe it's the next day. To the very next day, being like, "I'm leaving you. I'm never going to see you again."
But it's a Coronation Street thing.
I know. It just feels They could have made it last longer, but then would it have been interesting to watch? Probably not.
No, and also, would you really have cared? Like, if it was 2 weeks instead of 1 week?
Yeah. Welcome back, Summer's Robot. I've not heard from you for quite a long time. What have you been doing?
I've been upstairs listening to me tapes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Anything else you want to add about this one? Final thoughts on Cathy, Gemma?
I'm sad to see her go, but I know I can understand why.
Yeah.
Which is sad indictment of the way the characters
the cast is very big.
Yeah.
Cathy's not necessarily one that I would have chosen to lose, and it's really, really sad to say, and this is, not a reflection on what I think about Cathy, because I do like her. I don't think that the show's going to miss her.
I know, that's even worse.
That's the sad thing about this.
Yeah.
We're not going to know that she's gone. Unfortunately.
No, sad.
Yeah. I wonder whether Alex is going to stay around as well, because I can't remember where he's even living at the moment. I think he's supposed to have his own supported flat or something somewhere for other people.
Maybe he's living with Wendy Crozier.
Maybe he is, but there's no reason for him to stay particularly. But someone's got to butter those rolls when Shona goes off on her
and she's working with Brian now. He needs all the help he can get.
That's very.
He's
very
got
true.
a lot of gin to clean up the floor.
Okay. Bye, Cathy. Bye.
Ta-ra.
Yeah. Thomas Robot says goodbye as well. Right, Audrey, Gemma. What's she been up to this week?
Audrey has been up to all kinds of mischief, hasn't she? I guess. So she's got her cataract.
I guess it's mischief.
She got her cataract operation on Monday, and she's going to stay with Gail for comedy purposes until she recovers. Then we get Gail rooting around in the bins later because Audrey was putting stuff out, and she's put loads of.
But she's hiding her bottles, isn't she?
She's put loads of empty.
A massive lush.
She put loads of empty wine bottles in there, and Gail's getting a bit worried. Then Audrey comes back from her operation, and she's got this plastic eye cover thing, and she says she wants a drink, and Shona says...
She goes, what'll it mean, me hearty, you totter rum? I thought Shona was brilliant. They were just taking the mick out of her for being a bit piratey looking.
Audrey passes out because it looks like she's downed another bottle of wine, and Gail is very worried, and she decides to confiscate the rest of the alcohol and put it in the wardrobe so that nobody will find it. Later on Wednesday, Debbie's like, I need a cleaner, where can I find one? And Gail and Audrey come in, and we all know what's going to happen there, don't we? Don't even need to tell you. Audrey wants them to booze up at lunch, but Gail says they should just have lime and sodas. They end up hiring Gail as a cleaner. Audrey goes home by herself and tells Shona that Gail was worried that she would have to look after her and thinks it's quite funny. And then she gives Audrey gives Shona some money to go to Dev's to get her some wine.
Because of Gail hiding it.
Yeah, and it's really funny because Shona's like this willing little gopher who really should know better, but she doesn't because she was shot in a box. Gail comes home and grills Shona about where Audrey got the booze from, and Shona's like, I don't know, she bought it herself. Gail sees right through it, and Shona's like, I don't care, whatever. She's 80, she can do what she wants. On Friday, Audrey's got to go to the hospital for a follow-up, and turns out that nobody knows who's supposed to go with her. So they say Shona has to go. Shona's stressed out about this, and she tells Bernie about her duvet week being interrupted by all this annoying family business. And Bernie says, well, I will help you center yourself. And I know you don't like Mystic Bernie, but I quite like this side of Bernie's personality.
What do you think about Bernie Summers Robot?
What a load of barbins.
Oh, yeah, does not agree with realigning chakras with stones on your nipples, which is what Shona was getting done
David
to her
comes
today.
in and finds Shona. She's on the lounge floor. She's lying on a yoga mat, and she's got stones all over the place, including 2 of them sort of very suggestively placed over her breasts. And it turns out that that Bernie has located the source of the Platt's woe, and it is a golden elephant statue from Thailand that Gail brought back, and it's giving off a load of bad energy.
What a load of barbins.
And Bernie reckons they should get rid of it. So, Shona tells Gail about this.
That was a bloody stupid scene. Sorry, I just can't see Buffoon Gail without moaning about Buffoon Gail.
Well,
she was there cleaning the front of the bistro, wasn't she? Singing along to I can't remember what, but she's such a fool. Oh my gosh, I hate her so much. Sorry, is that sacrilege to say I hate Gail? But when she acts like this, I just can't be doing with it. Sorry. And then she's throws a bucket of water to throw it in the street, and oh look, she soaked Shona's shoes. Isn't that hilarious?
Oh yeah, I remember that now, because you've written Shona gets her feet soaked by Comedy Gail, and I was thinking, did Gail come in and say to Bernie, no, that's not how you relax someone I know,
No.
get a foot spa? No, it wasn't that at all. I remember now. Audrey's like, Gail's like, why are you here? You're supposed to be taking Audrey to the hospital. And Shona says, no, Audrey wanted to go by herself. Also, you have to throw out this elephant. And Gail says, no, Benny's just trying to get it because it's valuable. I'm going to get it valued. So she takes it somewhere, comes back. She said it's only worth £5 and it's definitely not cursed. Audrey comes back. She got a taxi. She sends Gail off to go and pay for it, which is quite funny. Then she tries to go to the pub, but Gail won't let her. Audrey doesn't listen to her, and she takes Shona, and they go to the pub together to realign their chakras in a bottomless glass of vino.
Yeah. What did you reckon to this story this week?
I enjoyed Shona in it. I think I'm loving Shona. I
think
I'm
Shona was
really
the saving grace
Audrey.
of this story.
I think Gail's a bit of an idiot. Obviously, this is not the first nor probably the last time we're going to have a story about a character drinking because they've got problems. Not sure how interesting I find it.
I don't find it very interesting at all, really.
Even though Audrey, I really like Audrey.
Audrey is usually great, and she wasn't bad this week, but there wasn't very much this week that made me think, yeah, Audrey's brilliant, hooray, Audrey's back, we've missed her so much this past year or two when we've barely seen her. She was just there, and it wasn't even that Sue Nichols wasn't giving her A game or anything, she was. It just didn't feel like particularly engaging material. It was like, oh, hilarious, somebody's drinking too much and hiding it. There's only so much comedy that you can. Well, I think it was supposed to be funny.
No, but I think
her
it's
having little
be...
secret meetings with Shona. I think it was supposed to be, oh, she's serious, she's getting drunk, or blah, blah, blah.
I know, but I think it's supposed to later on lead to something a bit more serious. I think if they're sort of tackling something, alcoholism amongst the elderly or something, I don't know. We haven't had that, I guess.
Alcoholic octogenarians.
Yeah.
That's what I'm scoring this week out of.
Yeah. But they haven't specific. This is the thing. Although it could be something more specific as far as an issue storyline goes than we have seen before. Many times we've had an alcoholic on the street.
#speak and save.
It could be a bit interesting, but is that where they're going? Have they kind of lost that element of uniqueness a little bit because they haven't teased it out enough? Because sometimes when they try to tease out these issue-based storylines, they get too specific and too in your face. Like when we had Sally sitting down and basically giving everybody a public service announcement about how sometimes hormone replacement therapy is not suitable for people who have had breast cancer. Like, yeah, I guess you would bring this up, but not exactly in the same way that Sally said it. Yeah,
I think the storyline has just really suffered from being drip fed too much over the past 6 months, because maybe it's even longer. When was it that Audrey bashed a car into Rita? That was last autumn, wasn't it? And it's
you're always doing that. You're always saying, "Oh, this is too spread out."
Sometimes it's too spread out. Sometimes it's not spread out enough. Exactly.
I don't think.
And I don't know whether there's been any issues with getting all the cast together to be able to film it, or whether it's been COVID-y things or what. I don't know, but I just wasn't particularly into this storyline, unfortunately, despite the fact that Shona and Audrey are both brilliant characters. What was your opinion on Audrey being allowed to basically drink herself to death? Because Gail was saying no, she shouldn't be. She needs to be in control, and Shona was just saying, look, she's 80, she can do what she wants. If you were 80, do you think you'd be allowed to? Would you like to be allowed to do what you want?
Yes, I think it's not a question of is she allowed. It's more of a question of like, does she know what she's doing? And I think she probably does know what she's doing.
Well, if she's hiding the bottles in the bin, she knows what she's doing is wrong. But she's always been one to not care about what anyone thinks.
I don't know. I mean, I know that there are. Maybe one day we'll be able to say, I did a test on you, and it looks like likelihood of you getting anything bad from drinking is very, very low, so drink as much as you bloody well want, whereas if you have a glass of wine a day, you're going to die of liver cancer, Maybe one day we'll get to that stage and we can say, look, choose your vices carefully. But right now, where we live at the moment, we really do not know how much this will affect or not affect Audrey, and she's obviously upset about what's going on in her life. Not the right way to cope with it, but how is Gail offering her an alternative?
Yeah, she doesn't
She's
like the
just
idea
moaning
that
at
she's
her.
getting old and infirm, does
I
she?
don't blame her. It's horrible.
As someone who's been so vivacious and full of life for the whole of the past 80 years
She's
or so,
aged
to
very
see her,
well.
yeah, she has,
and
but
now
to
it's catching
realise
up with
that,
her, maybe.
yeah.
I don't know, and I think that Gail is all very well her moaning, but what is she doing to help Audrey? Is she sort of saying, you know, would you like to do this, ma'am, or can we get you in this club, or would you like to go here, or have you thought about going on holiday?
Let's get you in the club, Audrey.
Has she got anything to look forward to? What do you mean the club? You want to get pregnant?
Yeah. that'll offer a new lease of life.
That'll show Toyah, won't it?
If I had Gail as being the only person that could get me out of this funk, then I'd probably turn to drink as well, to be honest.
Yeah, that's saying something.
Boring.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is fairly boring.
Let's move on to the next story.
As we move on to the next story, Summer's robot is getting a bit ants in its pants.
A bear wash me pants.
Let's talk about the Phil story, because this is another one that there's not a whole lot to talk about, although there is a fairly exciting prospect of another returning character in this one. So Fizz finds out on Monday that the whole of the new house is wired up wrong.
Oh no. Can't believe it.
I know.
Who would
Sucks,
ever
their
do that?
dream house. She said, I can't stay there. I don't want the girls hanging around any dodgy electrics. Thank you very much.
Well,
But
I mean,
Fizz,
you don't want Hope hanging around anywhere that could be flammable.
yeah, that's very true, actually.
With a grudge.
Yeah, she's going to be there with like 2 wires in either hand, just flicking and putting them together to watch the sparks fly.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tyrone, of course, because he's a nice gent, says, you can come and stay with us at number 9. Fizz isn't sure about this at first. Then there's a weird scene. I don't know whether this went what this was all about, but oh yeah, maybe this was linked. No, I don't know. Fizz is showing Evelyn pictures of a wedding dress at the end of the episode, isn't she? But then it turns out the pages are all stuck together, and that sounds really dodgy to me.
No, I thought
Why were the pages of a wedding magazine stuck together? Has Phil been reading this for fun?
Can I just tell you why they were stuck together?
Why?
Isn't it because of his creamy paint?
His creamy what? That's so rude. I don't know.
I thought this was the insinuation that.
But the creamy paint was last week.
I know. Now it's stuck together.
I don't know. Anyway, Fizz has got better things to think about. Has got different things to think about on Wednesday, because Phil's mum, Mimi, remember her?
Yeah,
we
love
her.
Mimi.
Lots of people hated her,
And
but we thought she
Coco.
was brilliant and well remembered.
Coco the dog who's named after a Nazi.
Yes. They can't make it to the wedding because Mimi has got emergency dental work booked, and Fizz thinks this is wonderful because she absolutely hates her mother-in-law to be. Phil says maybe we should postpone the wedding until she's available, and Fizz says no way.
I kind of loved how unapologetically vindictive Fizz was about this. It didn't feel very much in character though.
It felt a bit too mean for Fizz. And I know she doesn't like the woman, but
she was so openly like,
I hate
joyous.
your mum so much, and I don't want her to have anything to do with the wedding.
Like, I'm sorry, I know that you sometimes other people's families can be difficult. Your own family is difficult, but a wedding isn't about you. It's about your families joining together.
Although I can't say, I don't think we're going to be seeing Scylla turning up at this wedding either.
Well, maybe
this is a parent-free wedding.
Maybe, like instead of having a child-free wedding, you have a parent-free wedding.
I know, Chesney, you're not invited either, because you're
no
such
one's
a downer.
Invited.
So she's a bit mean. She says, no, we're definitely getting married 8th of July, so there we go.
Write it down.
Write it down, everybody. How long's that? 3 weeks away we're going to get Fizz and Phil's wedding? Possibly.
Sally's like, you're being a bit of a bitcher. You shouldn't make his mum miss the wedding.
No, she shouldn't. Anyway, back at home.
She's gleeful.
She's very gleeful. She's telling Fizz all about the fact that Mimi's
Tyrone.
not going to come. And he's chuffed for her as well. They do a little celebration dance together, don't they? Like, well, you can't have your horrible mother-in-law come along to the wedding. But Phil comes into the Rovers later, where Fizz and Tyrone, I think, are. And he says, oh,
good news!
Good news, everyone. She has moved her emergency dental appointment. Must have been a cancellation or something, I don't know. And she's able to come to the wedding after all. And Fizz begrudgingly admits what?
He says she wants to be part of the wedding.
Yeah, she can come, and she wants to be part of it. And Fizz says she can come, but I'm not having any of her nonsense.
No, not having her. Thanks very much.
I can't remember a whole lot about Mimi, to be fair, and it was only 6-7 months ago.
She's
she was
very
in
overbearing and very posh
Yeah,
and very
yeah.
condescending.
I remember really, really enjoying her. Do you remember that cake? Was it an engagement? No, it was a birthday cake for Phil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That had the dog on.
She will not. I'm sure there will be so many comedy scenes, and I'm casting my mind back to curry weddings of yesteryear, and it occurs to me that I don't know how many times we've really had the overbearing mother-in-law interfering in the wedding preparation storyline, which is a very sort of common complaint of people about to get wed, that people stick their oar in and it's not always welcome. We've had bridezillas, and we've had many a rushed wedding, but I don't know, this could be quite interesting. Mimi's probably going to be quite aghast at the fact that they haven't hired their china from the correct suppliers, and I don't imagine that Fizz has even considered asking where she's going to have her reception, what the brand of the plates are that they're going to be serving the wedding breakfast from, which would be Mimi's first question, no doubt. And I'm sure she's going to complain if the venue is not dog friendly.
Well, to be fair, it's going to be the Bistro or Chariot Square or maybe Speed Dial, isn't it? There's not much choice here.
Not really.
I wonder, when I was thinking about mother-in-laws at wedding, it just got me thinking about when Maud Grimes was at... Was it Maureen and... It was Maureen and Fred's wedding. Was it? Or, no, it was Maureen and Reg. And she was a cantankerous mother-in-law. She wasn't a I want to get really involved one, was she? She just didn't like that Maureen was getting married to Reg. And then there was the scene in there where Maureen overhears Reg telling someone or other what a horrible old biddy she is, and she gets really upset and takes herself off, doesn't she? So I wonder whether this could be an opportunity to develop Mimi as a character, or are they just going to keep her as a bit of comedy relief?
Keep her as a funny old battle axe.
Yeah. I mean, that is if she even comes back, of course, because it looked for a moment at the beginning of this week that it was going to be a case of, what's that? There's a family member that really should be at the wedding. We need to come up with an excuse why they're not going to be there. But as far as it looks at the moment, she is going to be there at the wedding. So I, for one, I'm looking forward to her returning.
And all the parents who should be there are like, damn, she used the dental excuse and now she's coming anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
What am I going to say?
Okay, that was it. But there was nothing much to talk about there. Something's going to go wrong. I can't see Fizz and Phil getting married.
Oh.
Maybe.
You said that about Imran and Toyah?
I did say that about Imran and Toyah, although it didn't last, did it? Not even a month they were married, I don't think, because I think we got a complete, absolutely confirmed death date of 30th of May for Imran. I think it was written on his coffin. I wrote it down somewhere. So there we go. Yeah, I think they got married at the beginning of May, dead by the end of May.
Oh, it sounds like an old nursery rhyme.
I'm kind of guessing that Mimi's just going to be so insufferable that either Fizz is like, I can't marry you, Phil, which maybe doesn't make sense, or maybe Mimi is able to persuade Phil to not marry Fizz.
Well,
and he is a
Tyrone.
massive mummy's boy, isn't he?
Is
So I think
Tyrone
he
able
might do
to
it.
convince Fizz not to marry Phil?
He seems to be, although he's pining after Fizz,
It's being too supportive.
it'd be a bit of a character turnaround if he was at this point going to say, no, don't do it, don't marry her.
But maybe Phil and Fizz will be sitting on the sofa one day and he says, do you want to watch... She says, do you want to watch one of those cake show episodes? And he goes, that's a load of old crap, who watches those? And then she finally thinks of the time that she and Tyrone used to eat eclairs and watch it. And will realise that actually Phil is not the man for her after all, and she doesn't really like watching Zombiesy.
Yeah, good point. Okay, let's move on to the next storyline. Back to you, Gemma. We have got the summer storyline, everybody. So, Summer's Robot, you're up. You, anything you want to say at the beginning of this, Summer's Robot?
Did you know that Summer doesn't want to go to Oxford anymore?
So I told you this is a learning robot, Gemma. Last week he was saying, did you know that someone wants to go to Oxford?
Yeah.
But he's watched this week's show and he has changed his programming. You're absolutely right. Doesn't want to go to Oxford anymore.
Don't let them become sentient because they will kill us.
I don't know what he's going to be saying next week. So go on, Gemma. She doesn't want to go to Oxford anymore. What has Summer been up to?
All that for nothing.
She's going to be going on a summer holiday this week. That's all I know.
Monday, there's a meeting organised at the school and Billy's trying to persuade Summer to go and she says, I don't want to. What's the point? I'm not going to university. I've blown it. Then she goes to the bus stop and
I prefer the old summer.
Asher and Amy are there. And they're annoyed.
Boring.
They're annoyed with her.
I prefer the old summer.
Summer's robot, I'm sorry, she's gone.
Asher and Amy don't like Summer anymore because she's a cheat and she's stitched up Ardy. Then we get Aaron, and he comes over and she says, "Oh, I hate myself," and he tells her to chill out. People make mistakes, and the girls will come round. And even though we've split up, we can be friends. So in the cafe, Paul's telling Todd about Summer and her current state of mind, and Billy says we should talk to Summer together. So Todd and Paul begin an intervention. It doesn't last very long, and Summer leaves.
Let's move on to the next story.
No, we need to give this story its time.
No, I'm sorry, but this has not got very much left, okay? Summer is with Aaron later, and he tells her that he wants to get back with her.
Fagging and shagging.
And they should be one of those couples that are really all over each other and so annoying, and they should go away together.
Boring.
And she nods, and then Billy comes back from the meeting and says, "Summer, you've been disqualified with no chance of a resit."
Oh dear, no.
But that's okay.
Summer. Yeah.
That's okay. Summer doesn't want to go to Oxford anymore.
Is that it? No, Summer does
Summer
not
doesn't
want...
care.
Did you know that Summer doesn't want to go to Oxford
Yes.
anymore?
That's what I was hinting at. Summer doesn't care, and she says, "Me and Aaron are back together, and we're gonna go on holiday." And he's like, "Okay, well, if that's what you want." And then she looks at a magazine, and it's got sexy beach people on, and no doubt this will trigger her further because
She's not a sexy beach person,
Well,
is she?
she is a sexy...
She could be a sexy beach person, but in her head she's not.
Everybody is beach ready,
whale that's been...
okay?
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, where do whales belong? On the beach. Dying in the sand, I suppose.
Okay, so...
Billy is showing his lack of parenting skills. Really, Summer's parented herself this whole time. It's only coincidental that they live in the same house together, to be honest.
Yeah, Billy allowing his daughter-ish to go off on holiday with this person that she's only just met, split up with for a little bit, and has now got back together again.
And also, they both have history of eating disorders. She's not over hers yet. She's just had a very traumatic experience. She's been kicked out of... Like, she hasn't been punished for any of this stuff. And I know that Billy thinks that she's mature enough that she doesn't need to, and it's punishment in herself that she can't go to Oxford anymore. But actually, do you need to punish her?
Did you know that Summer doesn't
She
want
does need
to go to
punishing,
Oxford
Do you think that she
anymore?
does? Do you think... I'm not a parent, I don't know, I've never been in this situation. I just feel like she's kind of gotten away with it. She's like, well, all's well that ends well. You know, I've been punished by not going to Oxford, but that's fine, I don't want to go anymore. Like, okay, well, if you don't want to go anymore, you've not been punished, have you? So go to your room.
I think it's just like, it's the relief. She's been worrying about this, and it's been stressing her up and eating her out for so long. That sounds
What? No, eating her up.
Eating her up for so long.
Oh my god.
That's very rude. I did not mean to say that. And now she's got that weight off her mind.
She probably does feel relieved, even though it's kind of a misplaced emotion here, because that's not actually the appropriate response.
No, I wonder whether,
happened.
is September or October going to come around and all her mates are going to go off to university.
Yeah, what's she going to
and
think then?
She's going to be there buttering balms in the cafe or whatever it is that she's going to be doing, stitching knickers or whatever.
Prostitute.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
But if I was Billy, I would say, like, okay, you've messed up. I'm going to have to sort of do, we need to talk here about what the consequences of that are beyond you're not just going to Oxford anymore. But we also need to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do now? Let's talk about the options. Nobody said, do you want to go on a gap year? Do you want to go, do you want to go be a summer camp counsellor in America and be in a horror movie and get eaten by a vampire? Or would you like to
options.
go and build a house in a different country?
No, he just says, you go off and have your holiday. Maybe he just wants to... He knows that she's been through a very, very tough time recently, so she's going to go on a holiday. Nothing's horrible's going to come out of it, and then when she comes back, then they can talk about it. Or maybe he's just deferring to the other two dads, because Todd and Paul seem to have been a little bit more involved in this than he has. And this is the other thing as well. This whole 3 dads situation.
I quite like it.
I don't know whether
I'm
I
gonna
do.
call
She
them-
doesn't need 3 dads. She's 18.
They're like a
for
triad.
heaven's sake.
The triad of dads, like the dad trad.
The dad trad.
Yeah, why not?
I'm not really enjoying this either.
I don't think that they are very good at
This is
dadding.
what and when they had that conversation, that storyline towards the beginning of last year, I was saying then that Todd is a great character, and he just seems to be tied to other characters that aren't so interesting. And they just need to get him away from them, get him more into the Undertakers or something. But Todd is a much better character than just being one of 3 dads, a third of a dad to Summer.
A third of a dad trad. I don't really.
Tied to her
No,
now.
I think it's fine. I think it's very mature of them all that they can co-parent together, and it's not been about them. It's been about Summer, but they still managed to end up with a cheat. As a child.
Yeah.
Also, I'm surprised that Aaron's still hanging about.
I know, every time Aaron appears on the screen, I'm thinking, oh,
Are
are
you
you
sticking
still
around?
in it then? I mean, we saw he was at the Soap Awards this weekend, wasn't he? So
Yeah.
he's going to be in it for a little while longer at least. He absolutely felt
Well,
like
they
he
don't
was
just-
a short-term character, just for a few episodes.
They
when he
just
first
give
came in,
out
but
those
maybe
awards,
not.
those
golden
those
tickets.
seats to anybody, because we'd be there if they did.
Exactly.
Yep.
I don't know when this summer holiday is going to happen. I'm guessing in a few weeks. The fact that this story ended on Monday makes me think that maybe we won't.
Boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to the next
Okay,
story.
fine. Summer's Robot. Turner and Smooch is the last story of the night, and nothing particularly happened here. Really, nothing that new.
Max has got friends.
Max has got his friends.
How much did he pay them?
He fancies Sonia. We knew that already, and they're reminding him to watch out. Don't get too loved up with her because her ex-boyfriend is still sniffing around, and don't forget he's massive. Max tries to get David to lend him some money later in the episode, and David's reaction with like going, "Oh, what do you want, condoms?" was kind of hilarious. But Max doesn't want that. He wants some money to take her out for a meal somewhere, because it turns out that he's ashamed of their house, because not only does Sonia have a massive ex-boyfriend, she also has a massive house, and he thinks that number 8 pales in comparison. And David's like, no, you shouldn't be ashamed of where you live, and if she's the sort of person that would look down on you for living in a little maisonette, then well, she's not worth going out with. So he finds Max having a bit of a grumpy brew in the community garden later, realises that he's actually quite sweet on this Sonia, and gives her some money so that he can book her a seat at the bistro. And then they just have this scene at the bistro, which I thought was quite sweet, with Nick and him later, where Max goes in to order to book a table, and Nick's like, oh, is it for a girl? Tell me about it. I thought it was quite funny there. And then he says a great line, which is like, oh, I was about your age when I first got with Leanne. We ran off and got married. I wouldn't advise that. So I thought that was quite a nice little callback, and that's why, as we mentioned earlier on in the episode, Leanne catches him listening to Natalie and Brulia in the bistro office later, because he's reminiscing to their Gretna Green jaunt.
Beautiful. What a beautiful couple.
So basically that was nothing, wasn't it? It was just David showing that he's cool with Max having a girlfriend, and I assume that this massive ex is going to come into it at some point and give Max a jolly good beating up, maybe. We'll see, won't we? That is it for this week's Coronation Street. Gemma, final thoughts on the week by you, please.
I'm really, really tired.
Gemma's really hot and tired.
And this is difficult to get through. And it's difficult sometimes when you're recounting the show to recall whether you're bored of what you're saying or you were bored when you watched it.
I mean, like I said, the Imran stuff was fine. I was a little bit disappointed with the fact that they were making Toyah out to be a bit of a mardy mare.
Well, lots of people will say, this is typical Toyah, this is what she's like, and they're not going to be surprised, and they're going to sort of say that this is their justification for why they don't like her.
Just like we will try and find some reason for her doing what she's doing. I enjoyed the funeral. It was nice to see Sarah
Love a good funeral.
again. And Georgia Taylor always brings her A game. The Cathy and Brian storyline dominating as much as it did, that's not going to make it a brilliant week, but they kind of had to, didn't it? That had to be one of the leading stories of the week. And then the Audrey stuff, fine, I guess. Phil, nothing much going on there.
Can I just say Shona was a real highlight of that story?
Yeah, she was. So we said that earlier.
But what are they doing with her chakras? You can't mess around with that, I
don't know. The whole thing with the cursed elephant was just ridiculous. Sorry,
I thought it was funny.
Stupid. So
I've got a lot more tolerance for Bernie's crackpot.
I've never had that much tolerance of Bernie. No.
But you don't I don't believe in crystals and healing auras and stuff.
Don't let Melanie Hill hear you say that
because
she thinks they're great.
Yeah, but I don't. It doesn't bother me if anybody else does, and I'll listen if somebody wants to tell me about their crystals or try it out on me. I'm like, fine, yeah, have a go. I don't not believe in it, but I don't believe in it. I'm completely ambivalent, so I don't have anything against the character of Bernie. I know some people immediately knee-jerk reaction, don't like it, find it a bit offensive or woo-woo. I think it's all in good fun, I don't know. So I really, really like that aspect of Bernie, especially considering that there's not very many other people like her.
No, that's true. That's
and
true.
I don't think there have been very many people like her on Coronation Street who haven't been in a cult.
Yeah, I did. I kind of like that scene. Seeing Shona laying down like that was quite fun, and then David's reaction to seeing her was always good. But no, I'm giving this week 3 cocktail shaking Lotharios out of 5. It was fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say 3. I'm going to give it 3 tattooed solicitors, which I think would make a really good team. And maybe they kind of all put their hands in the middle of, go team, and put their hands in the middle, and then they kind of make a symbol of justice with their hands, with their hand tattoos.
Character of the week this week? I don't want to say Cathy just because I have to say Cathy, but I don't know whether there's anybody else particularly that majorly stands out.
I like Toyah this week because...
What? Are you going to give it to Toyah at last?
Yeah, I feel like I need to defend her from her haters, and I think I'm really... the funeral speech was excellent. I really liked the scene in the police station when she was being grilled and she was like, oh no, maybe I did do it. I really liked her, having a go at this poor woman who was trying to defend her and just being a total bitch. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter sort of suggesting that this has secretly been her personality all along, and she's just been pretending to be nice, and she isn't actually nice at all. And I guess that maybe I resonate with that a little bit. Maybe I feel like I pretend to be nice, and maybe I'm Toyah. Maybe you are.
I think I'm going to give it to Toyah this week as well. I'm not saying that the other stories didn't have characters that... I don't know even what I'm saying.
I think the only thing I think
she was. Toyah was the one. Whenever she came onto the screen this week, I was like, brilliant, yes. It's a Toyah scene. And I can't say that I said that about any other character apart from maybe Shona, but she did get my character of the week last week.
I'm firmly convinced that Toyah didn't do it, and there's going to be some piece of extenuating evidence that's just going to completely... allow her to go free, and it'll prove instantly that she definitely did not do it at all. But one thing I want to say is that watching this and the way that she's acting and the way everyone's treating her, I think Coronation Street are going for a twist where it's revealed that she didn't actually do it, and that's supposed to be the real drama of the story. But I feel like it would be way more dramatic if we knew from the beginning that she didn't do it, and watching her being unlikable but knowing that she is innocent. I think that would be a bit more of a dilemma.
I like it how it is. I think. I think that, going to taking us out to the police station.
That was ballsy. That
took
was
guts. That did, and I've enjoyed how hard that she's been. She's not yes, she's having a bit of a cry here and there, But when she was standing up to her solicitor and saying, "No, I didn't do it," I enjoyed that.
I didn't want to kill
myself. That was a bit
myself.
of Battersby spirit there.
I think she's showing a lot of resilience here.
Yeah, she really,
I don't think I would be strong enough to do this. She's lost everything. She's lost everything. And you would think
after her husband's dead
that somebody like Toyah, who's sort of fought so hard for these things, would crumble in the face of having them taken away from her so tragically. But instead she's completely risen to the occasion, and she's not letting herself get broken by the system, and she's not even now saying, yeah, maybe I do feel like I wish I wasn't alive, maybe I do wish I was dead now, because I've lost everything and I'm being accused of killing my husband and I didn't do it. But even now she's standing firm. She's going to the police station. She's saying, I didn't do this, you must listen to me. But it's funny because she secretly harbours the doubts that she did do it. So what's she playing at? I don't know. I still really find her a very interesting character. It's very difficult to defend a lot of what she's done this week, even though I've given it my best. Definitely don't think that it's good to discriminate against people because of having tattoos.
I'm looking forward to seeing what her reaction is to finding out about Abby's little victory this week, because I know that she maybe has given up on seeing Alfie, but is she happy that she will be able to see Alfie even though it's Abby raising her, or is she going to be like, this isn't fair, I had my heart, I thought I was going to raise this child and now you've got him, sorry.
Is Abby going to be magnanimous and allow Toyah to see Alfie? Because the thing is Toyah...
Is Toyah going to try and kidnap Alfie?
Maybe Toyah was a bit condescending sometimes towards Abby,
little bit,
but she had her heart in the right place, and she was the one that insisted to Imran that Alfie and Abby has to be part of Alfie's life. I wonder if Abby will show gratitude and acknowledgement of that, or if she'll just be like, oh, who gives a sod, I don't care.
Summer's Robot, do you have a character of the week this week?
Abby.
Oh, Abby. He likes Abby. He's an Abby fan this week. Fine, there you go. So Toyah and Abby.
I don't think Rebecca, don't bother writing this.
No, you don't need to write down Summer's Robot. That doesn't count.
Good one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, fine.